Two teams that have started their big battlers for the opening face-offs of previous games, and not without result. Two teams who have played 5 times, with the last 2 games being decided by just a goal, the others by just 2. Two teams with coaches who are quiet and pondering. Two teams with much to prove as the playoffs loom 3 weeks and 3 days away. For the Rangers, it's a chance at their first ever Patrick Division regular season title. For the Flyers, it's the quest for a playoff berth for the 18th straight year. The Rangers have brought on some impressive scores. One 2 months ago, the other just 2 days ago. The Flyers send Ron Hextall onto the ice to the goal crease tonight for his second home start in the last 10 months. Live from the Spectrum, Broadway and Broad Street clash, as it's the National Hockey League on Sports Channel. Tonight's game features the New York Rangers and the Philadelphia Flyers. Good evening, everyone. Along with Bill Clement, I'm Mike Emmerich. For the Flyers, 3 straight home games in a row against Patrick Division teams, and the first one tonight against their biggest rivals.
When you look at the importance of this game, Mike, there's little question in anybody's mind. The New York Rangers are going to make the playoffs. They have a bulge. Everybody in the division would have to catch them to knock the Rangers out of a playoff spot. Mathematically, it's still up in the air, but the Rangers are going to be in the playoffs. The Flyers, different story altogether. They need 2 points here tonight. They need 2 points their next game and the game after that and a number of games to come.
Well, let's assess their needs. Take a look at the Patrick Division standings. You can see that the Flyers are 3 points out of a playoff berth. The Rangers are sitting pretty at the very top. They have 5 games left at home, 7 away. All that is academic. Doesn't mean that much. It'll be a tight cluster going right up to April the 1st, I think, before we really can get the last playoff berth decided.
I agree with you, Mike. And, you know, at the beginning of this season, when Neil Smith took over the New York Rangers as one of the youngest general managers in the National Hockey League, a lot of people were sitting back waiting to see how he would do. Boy, he has been a calm, cool, collected guy. Pulled off a couple of great trades. The first one a couple of months ago brought Bernie Nichols to the New York Rangers, and he adds not only offense, and that is something that the New York Rangers still sorely lack, but I don't know if you agree, Mike. Bernie Nichols seems to me to be a guy that doesn't react to pressure. I mean, you can load it onto him, and no matter how big the game is, Bernie Nichols is still out there for a little skate, and he's real cool.
He is. He's free and easy all the way. Since he came to them, they've gone from 3 under 500 to 5 above. That's the impact that seemingly he has had. They're hoping that the same will be true for Mike Gartner. This is a guy that's had 30 goals or more in 11 seasons, including this one, and this year he had 30 or more with a team that was near the bottom of its division, the Minnesota North Stars.
Exactly. And you know, one of the biggest assets that the New York Rangers had just before the trading deadline that Neil Smith had, he had 3 major league goaltenders, and everybody thought he was going to deal one. Well, he didn't, and his number 1 asset tonight will be John Van Beesbroek. He is going to be in goal. He has played more than Mike Richter. He has played more than Bob Froese. Down the stretch, watch for Van Beesbroek to play a lot for the Rangers.
Yeah, I agree. He's only had 1 loss in his last 10 games, so he's been hot. His team has been hot, too. On the other side of the ledger, Ron Hextall will be leading the Flyers onto the ice tonight. Hextall has played in only 5 games since coming back from injury. He's 2-2-1 over that span.
You know, in the last 10 days, there have been 2 newspaper articles quoting Ron Hextall as saying the team might have character, but it's not really showing it. Well, Ron Hextall is going to try and lead by example tonight and lead with the character that he has.
Since the Rangers were here last time, the average age of the Flyers has dropped 1 full year. Murray Barron has been a regular on the Flyers' defense. He's a young guy. He's only 23 years of age. He'll be playing in his 5th NHL game tonight. His prior 4 have been good ones. It'll be intriguing to see what happens, especially with the lineup and opening face-off time tonight. These 2 Patrick Division rivals going at it. The Rangers and Flyers next.
The NHL on Sports Channel is brought to you by Showtime. Showtime exclusives. Here you see them, there you don't.
Well, it's the perfect opportunity.
If you want to see the movie Working Girl, you can see it on both Showtime and HBO. But if you want to see Mississippi Burning, only Showtime has it. HBO doesn't. Showtime also has Beaches, The Burbs. HBO doesn't. And only Showtime has Monty Python's 20th anniversary special. Showtime exclusives. Here you see them, there you don't.
Lincoln Town Car has something no luxury sedan has had in 38 years. Motor Trend's Car of the Year Award. And now other Lincolns come with something extra. On the V8 power and luxury of Lincoln Mark 7, a $1,500 customer cash award. And on Continental, one of the world's most advanced luxury cars, a $1,500 customer cash award. The 1990 Lincolns, we've won our award. See a Lincoln Mercury dealer for yours. Lincoln, what a luxury car should be.
Got a cold? Gotta keep going? Gotta go with Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine. When you gotta keep going, you gotta go with Alka-Seltzer Plus.
The hockey news is now on TV. It's an in-depth look at the NHL. Keep pace with the world's fastest game, the hockey news. Only on the Sports Channel America Network. Don Gould takes you behind the scenes and shows you what makes sense, dollars and cents in the world of sports, sports business. See it on the Sports Channel America Network.
Stirring rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner from Jeff Miller and the Liberty Brass. Well, the officials for tonight's game include the referee, Terry Gregson. The linesmen are Brian Murphy and Ray Scapinello. In goal tonight for the New York Rangers, John Van Beesbrook, 5-0-1 in his last 6 starts. Only 1 loss in his last 10. And against the Flyers, 1-1-0 this year.
For the Flyers, Ron Hextall starts. This is his 8th game. That's right, only 8 games so far this year for Ron Hextall. Tough year with injuries. His record 4-2-1.
Huffman and Samuelson, Smith, Linsman, and Mellanby. Patrick and Rochefort for the Rangers, Millette, Nichols, and Gardner. And even though this is an impressive line in scoring, the more impressive line and the most consistent one in all the NHL right now is the one on which Brian Mullen is the right wing, Kelly Kissio is the center, and John Ogrodnik is the left winger. The Rangers are loaded offensively. Here's Derek Smith trying to brush one along. Gartner dealt it back, but Samuelson is there. Floats one that is tapped away by Rochefort, then a second follow through to the glass. It is spun right back across, and going to get it is Mike Gartner, wearing uniform number 22 for the Rangers in his first game as a New York Ranger player. Wrapped around the boards, and Derek Smith is there, but the puck back to Patrick. Shoots one, and it sticks to the seats by Hextall. So Hextall faces his first Ranger challenge 25 seconds into the opening period.
One thing the Flyers are going to try and do is play Ken Linsman's line. He wears number 18, right dead center of your screen. Play Linsman's line against Bernie Nichols' line. That puts Derek Smith dead against this guy, Mike Gartner. Gartner dumped the puck in. Kerry Huffman tried to take him out. One thing Mike Gartner will not hurt you with is his defensive play. I mean, Mike is known as a great offensive player, has 34 goals, but you saw him there move into the side, take the body. He actually jammed Huffman into Derek Smith. Mike Gartner, to me, is one of the underrated defensive guys, only because he is so well known for his offense.
Puck tipped loose behind by Hextall, picked up by Samuelson, floated along for Sutter. It is Sutter and Linsman and Derek Smith now, with Huffman and Samuelson remaining in back for the Flyers. A drive by Patrick ricocheted off Samuelson and went wide. Scooped up for Samuelson by Hextall, and he just dropped one off that Bernie Nichols kept at the line. but it was just slightly outside, and so as he tossed it in, an offside is called.
Well, the Flyers still have a number of extra people to scratch. Of course, there are injuries as well. Mark Howe, Yuri Lottle, Norm Lacombe out with injuries tonight. Mike Fuller, Doug Sullivan, the healthy scratches. Pete Peters, the Flyers' third goalie, is sitting. The Rangers have a number of injuries as well. It's a good thing they are deep on defense because Greshner is out, Hardy is out, David Shaw is out. And Kerry Wilson, one of their top centers, is also on the sidelines, and one of their heart and soul guys, Chris Nyland, is on the sidelines. That's a pretty impressive list of scratches for the Rangers, too.
Yeah, Flyers have 325 man games missed to injury, and the Rangers are starting to close in on that 250 man game mark themselves, and that is very high. Here is Craven, able to walk by the defense for Sinisalo, but off him and then punched away by John Van Beesbroek. It is Craven up with it, tried to center, but that tapped away by Van Beesbroek. Rick Tocchet pivots, trying to get away from Kissio's checking, but the puck came back over to Craven, then back over for Murphy in front, kicked out by Van Beesbroek, another shot, and Van Beesbroek got that one too. Now a 2-on-1 for the Rangers, hustling to get back as Tocchet. Mullen moves in, has Kissio, the drop to Ogrodnik. Mullen hit the outside of the goal, and the puck popped high in the air, off of Mullen to the corner. Murray Barron over to get it. Kissio and Barron battle the boards, and walking away with it is Brian Mullen. Centers, and a shot by Ogrodnik was tipped away by Murphy. Ahead now comes Ilka Sinisalo, and he tried to play it back in. That one blocked down by Bloomberg, and then ricochets back to Terry Karkner.
You know, depending on how tight the Flyers were able to play tonight, that play, that 3-on-2 by the Rangers, is a play to remember. They didn't even come close to getting a good scoring chance. It turned out to be a sharp angle shot, and they had a 3-on-2 by a mile. The trailer, Ogrodnik, could stay back and still have nobody catch up to him, yet they still didn't get a good shot.
Karkner did, and that one could be seen by Van Beesbroek all the way, so it resulted in an easy save. Karkner will this time wrap one around the boards, gets it across for Keith Acton. Acton tried to jam it further, but it is cut off and floated back along by Horsheva. That pass is brushed loose by Chychrun. Oh, and a good shot on goal, and Van Beesbroek got a stick on that one. Around the boards it came for Acton. Pestered off by Horsheva. Loose puck skips loose, and Bloomberg able to wedge out Kerr. So it's played by Horsheva again. Pass went away from Ogrodnik. Trying to work it along is Pelle Eklund. Acton brushed one for Kerr, but it's back to Ogrodnik, and he just jams it back out. Now Chychrun floating one along that bounces to Horsheva. 17 minutes and 5 seconds to go in the first period of our game. We have no score. Glad you've joined us tonight on Sports Channel. 4 shots for the Flyers, 1 shot for the Rangers. We'll return to the Spectrum in Philadelphia after these words.
Hello. Hello. You may be wondering what this parrot is for. Well, as you know, Ed is always on the lookout for new marketing techniques. So to introduce our exciting new Bartles and James Black Cherry wine cooler, Ed has been teaching the parrot to say, fabulous fresh fruit flavor.
Oh, fabulous black cherry flavor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please try our new cooler.
Fabulous black cherry cooler.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ooh.
And thank you for your support.
Oh, thank you for your support.
You know, just before the Rangers had that great 3-on-2 chance, the Flyers came very close to making this a 1-0 game. Gord Murphy pinched in. Van Beesbroek made the first save, and then Murphy got it up right after this stoppage, and Van Beesbroek stopped it with the pads. But one of the reasons the Rangers got that break was that Gord Murphy was in so deep.
Off the face-off, reaching for it is McGuire. Up with it, though, is Craig Berube, Sutter the centerman for these two aggressive wingers. But the puck kicked back up to Robb. Pass misfired across and is regathered now by Huffman. Kevin Miller, brother of Washington Capitals Kelly Miller, playing on the wing now, wearing number 32 for the Rangers. He's out there with Janssens as well as Lindy Ruff. Pivoting with this now is Rochefort. Pass came right back across for Miller. Miller just shuffles one in deep, and Kjell Samuelsson will go back as Hextall able to wind that one off the boards. Miller couldn't stop, and it came back out for Rochefort. Rochefort matched up with Moeller for the Rangers defense as Rochefort worked one up the wing, and on with it is Miller. Miller trying to finesse through Huffman, but that didn't work. Hextall cleared it right into Ruff, but it is thrown back off by Sutter. Taken by McGuire, and McGuire's pass on the money to Huffman, who moves back out with Berube. Lost control, though, and then is foisted off by Leach. Puck swung away stiffly by Van Beesbroek. Has to get back in his goal as the puck ricocheted behind. Kick loose and out in front, trying a shot, but failing with McGuire. Now Berube, a shot knocked down by the defense. Moeller behind, saw it go over to Ron Sutter. Has Berube breaking, and Sutter lost it back out to neutral ice. Sutter turns with 15:40 to go in the first period. No score in the game. It is Barron firing one that is dubbed, and it squibs in on Van Beesbrook. Shift change on for the Flyers. Lindy Ruff, who's comfortable both at defense and forward, playing the left wing tonight, sees this one dumped back, so he'll go back patrolling. And Ruff jabs it along the boards. First one there is Murray Barron, kept it alive for the Flyers. It is Mellanby trying to center, but Moeller all over him. Now it's picked up by Mike Gartner. Gartner in his second shift as a Ranger, moving back up the ice, hooked off by Derek Smith, turns it to the corner, and Murphy is back. Murphy just floating one along that came on to Scott Mellanby. Taps it on back to Linsman. Rushing ahead is Ken Linsman. Leaned on and battled every inch of the way by Gartner. It's dealt behind. Up with it is Mellanby. Mellanby curling. Has Gartner ready, but doesn't give to him. Held to the corner by Horsheva. Trying to pull loose again is Mellanby. Able to get it along to Ken Linsman. Through the legs pass. Is forced right back off by Bloomberg. Linsman popped one out in front. Chopped away by the defense of Horsheva. And back up rush the Rangers. They move it along, but Murphy is there to chop back out. Mellanby will be able to take it in stride. Bumped off, tries a pass, got it onto Linsman. Two Flyers breaking, couldn't get it to Karkner, and it shuffled back out. They couldn't control it. Would have been a 2-on-1, still might be. Moving in is Nichols. Waits. A shot is tipped wide by Hextall as he had Millette right at the front door. To the back it comes. Roche for a drive. Trapped by Hextall, and a stoppage of play, and some shoving after the whistle. Little extra paw by Millette in the direction of Linsman, but the scuffle moved out to the defenseman. They didn't have to pull in. 14-13 left in the first, no score. The NHL and Sports Channel.
Well, the car goes.
At Meineke, we can't always tell what's wrong with a car by the sound of the customer, but we can tell a lot from our free undercar inspection. We check your exhaust system, shocks, brakes, and more at no charge. We'll show you what's wrong and what's right. Then you'll know the price before any work begins. So bring your car to Meineke. We'll give you a lift without taking you for a ride.
Jeff Chychrun of the Flyers has picked up a penalty, a roughing penalty, and it was after the fact, and this big pileup in front. That was Millette, number 26 of the Rangers, that Ken Linsman tried to scrape. He pulled his helmet half off his head, and Millette retaliated. And then after this, the pack started moving out towards the defense, and I guess at that point, we can only speculate that Terry Gregson said, look, anybody does anything else and you're going to get a penalty, and Jeff Chychrun may have been the guy that did exactly that. But he is off. The Rangers are on the power play.
Boy, are they ever good. 20 of the last 70 times on the power play they've scored. 9 of the last 12 games they've gotten 2 power play goals. So they have been hot. They are 9th overall in the league. The Flyers are excellent in penalty killing, 4th out of the 21 teams. 14 minutes to go, first period of play. Flyers have the lead in shots, 4-3. Neither team has scored. Patrick whips one off the glass, came right to Hextall, shoveled it off the boards, but waiting for it is Brian Leetch. Leetch deals it quickly along now to Mullen, has Ogrodnik nearby. Mullen right back for Leetch, but it's tipped loose by Tocchet, and so Leetch has to go back further. Then across to James Patrick. The other Ranger out for the power play is Kelly Kissio. We mentioned Tocchet, also up front is Sutter. In back, Samuelson and Terry Karkner. Kissio fires it around the boards. First one to it is Hextall. Plenty of room, and away it goes.
Plenty of room, Mike, and lots of time. I mean, when the penalty killers can actually get in front of the attackers and hold them up, you see how easy it is for Ron Hextall back there to wheel and deal, to turn. I mean, he had about 3 options.
Good shot by Ogrodnik, and a splendid save by Hextall. Back to Horsheva. Deals it off for Mullen. Trying to get through is Kissio, then plays it back around, and it's Mullen. Wheeling it back for Leetch, and he just didn't get the stick down on that one, and so Leetch, pestered by Sutter, has to drop it across now to Miloslav Horsheva. Horsheva's pass on to Ogrodnik, deals it off to Leetch. Can he shake by? No. Karkner stopped him this time, and it's dumped back out as the penalty clock is down to 35, 34, 33 seconds. 12:45 left in the scoreless first period here at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. 2 teams separated in the standings by 12 points. The first place Rangers, the 6th place Flyers in the Patrick division. Went through both Bloomberg and Nichols and all the way back down. Now the Rangers have Nichols as well as Gartner up front. Bringing this one on ahead And lobbing one toward the corner was Horshiva. Out to get it is Hextall. Hextall turned it around, but Turcotte was there. To the back now to Horshiva. Shovel shot deflected by Samuelson. It went wide. Picked up by Nichols. Penalty time is up. To the back it comes to Bloomberg. His shot. Oh, and it didn't miss by much. Sinisalo bringing it back out. Right now it's a 2-on-2. Picks up a trailer. The drop comes to Acton. Got into trouble. There'll be a penalty coming up on the play as Murphy was knocked down. And the Flyers will get a power play of their own. 11:56 left in the first. We pause now for this regional break. With there being no score, you're watching the NHL on Sports Channel.
Have you ever said to yourself, when is it my turn? I work hard, I make good money, but I never seem to catch up on my bills. Today could be your turn if you're a homeowner. Now you can get enough money to pay everybody off, reduce your monthly payments, and have cash left over to fix your home or save for a rainy day. Call Metropolitan Mortgage. Tell them I said it's your turn.
Metropolitan Mortgage is standing by right now for your call. From anywhere in Florida, dial 1-800-EASY-YES.
Well, Horshiv is off for tripping. Gord Murphy, you got to like what he's doing. Mike, twice he has driven for the net. That time he drew a penalty. The first time he went for the net, he actually got a great scoring chance.
Hoffman a shot, and it went just wide. Now Murphy keeps it alive. Along to Sinisalo. Has Eklund to his right. Gives to the back to Hoffman. Fakes, able to pull away. Shoots, and a pad stop made by Van Beesbroek. Along the boards, they battle for it. It is a work on over to Janssens. Tried to shuffle by Hoffman, but it skipped to Murphy. Patrick had done a great job to free it up, but Janssens had trouble moving further. Now it's drilled back off by Rochefort, and headed back for it is Murphy. Murphy and Hoffman, and up front the Flyers go with Sinisalo and Kerr and Pelle Eklund. Turcotte out now with Paul Broughton to kill up front for the Rangers. Offside is called, and the clock stopped, showing 1 minute and 9 seconds left on the Horshivan trip.
Boy, Roger Nielsen has had an interesting season, hasn't he? Remember how far the Rangers were in first place at the start of the year, then the whole pack caught up to them around Christmas time. But the one thing that's been pretty consistent, except for when they had their down time, Mike, is that they're keeping the puck out of their net. They are by far the best defensive team in the Patrick division. They're ranked 4th in the NHL defensively. Offensively, they're the worst team in the Patrick division. There are only 2 teams that have worse offensive records than them. Quebec is 1, Vancouver is 1, and that once again proves that you can stay on top and win a lot of hockey games keeping the puck out of your net. It remains to be seen that you can go far in the playoffs unless you can score, and that has to be the biggest reason that Neil Smith dealt for Mike Gardner.
Boy, his trades look pretty good, don't they? When you come barreling in as a general manager for a franchise that is as prominent in the public eye as the Rangers, your first couple of trades need to be very good, and Smith's have been. Along now with it is Hoffman, then over for Linseman. That ricocheted off Moeller. Plopped right back to the corner, and going to get it is Leach. Lost it momentarily. Getting it back is Kerr to the front. Couldn't get a shot away as he was held. And back up with it now comes Turcotte. Trying to shake his way through Hoffman. Down he goes, and there'll be a penalty coming up to Kerry Hoffman. A lot of hustle by Darren Turcotte, and that takes care of the rest of the power play to the Flyers. We pause now for a regional break. You're watching the NHL on Sports Channel.
Turn on Sports Channel America any night of the week for exciting sports. Nobody delivers the NHL like we do, straight through to the Stanley Cup Finals. Climb into the ring every week with the Sports Channel Pro Boxing Tour. It's a knockout. Sports Nightly keeps you up to date with the latest scores, highlights, and news before and after every event. Plus, men's and women's college basketball, international amateur events, and more. Turn on Sports Channel America for exciting sports.
Boy, Darren Turcotte has been a pleasant surprise for the Rangers this year. 28 goals for the rookie, number 8, and he showed good hustle there getting around Kerry Huffman. Kerry Huffman didn't play against the Boston Bruins a couple of nights ago. He had the flu, and he had a terrible bout of it, too. It was only a 24-hour deal, but he slept most of the day of the game against the Bruins and just couldn't answer the bell. As a matter of fact, he couldn't even make it to the rink, and there's been such a strain of flu going around this winter, the 24 to 48 hour variety that has knocked. I'd like to have a number on the number of total players that have been knocked out of games because of the flu this season. I mean, we've seen every team hit.
Acton with a shot, and it's tipped away by Van Beesbroek. Two teams are still shorthanded a man for the next 10 seconds. Gordon Murphy lost 10 pounds with the flu about a week ago. And when it goes through a team, you see 3-4 players affected, maybe more than that on the same squad before it leaves.
Exactly. Here's Murray Craven crossing the line, crossing the center line and setting up Keith Acton. You see how Keith Acton was cutting in and cutting in. At a certain point, you have to decide whether you can continue the cut. Watch this. Do you continue the cut? Can you get by that defenseman, or do you have to bail out and shoot? And Acton at one point said, no, James Patrick is going to come back and get a piece of me. This is when I got to make my shot.
You were mentioning Quebec earlier. You imagine that their payroll's a little lighter when it comes to the 15th of March. Millen, Goulet, and Stastny gone now. That's roughly $1.5 million, somewhere in there. To the back, Samuelson shoots one and a stick save. Van Beesbrook, another drive by Karkner, and that seemed to go off Tocchet. Tocchet trying to turn it around the boards. Watch there by James Patrick. Tocchet trying to pivot away. Help came for Patrick by Kelly Kissio. Puck turned back along to Ron Sutter. Wheels, shoots one. That deflected away. It went off of Leach, and now the Rangers are on the power play. Ron Sutter, big hit that time, but coming right back to get it and dump it around was Patrick, and that hit by Sutter will cost the Flyers, and the Rangers might as well give it up. They do, and they're going to have a 5-on-3 power play on the minor penalty that will be coming up to Sutter.
We'll have to see on this replay. From here, it looked like a pretty decent hit. Ron Sutter just tugging away and is jamming Patrick against the boards. You can only speculate as to what the residual is from last year's broken jaw that Ron Sutter suffered.
14, Ron Sutter, 2 minutes for elbowing. 10 minutes, 32
after James Patrick had cross-checked him right here in the spectrum. Well, if anything, Patrick fell down into that elbow. That was a pretty good hit and a pretty determined shift by Ron Sutter.
Well, it's a 5-on-3 power play, and the Rangers have been splendid at this year. They're 6 for 23 on 5-on-3s. Now you can have your very own Flyers credit card. Applications for these Visa or MasterCards, both of which offer special discounts, may be obtained at the Spectrum and all Showcase stores, or call the Flyers at 215-465-4500. Use of these cards benefits Hockey Central, which supports youth hockey in this area. The type of youth hockey that brought to the NHL a guy by the name of Mike Richter. Ahead with this now is Leach. Richter, the backup goaltender. Bob Froese did not make the trip with the Rangers. Here is Leach moving in. Drills one off to Kissio. In this 5-on-3, Kelly Kissio working the outside. Leach, a drive deflected to the glass by John Ogrodnik. All the big gunners are out there now for Roger Nielsen's Rangers. Controlling this is Mullen. To the back to Leach. Fires again, and it went off of Samuelson. Turning this one along is Nichols. Then over to Ogrodnik. Works the outside to Kissio. Back it comes to Nichols again. Kissio, big drive, and that deflected wide. Around the boards, and the Rangers must chase. 20 seconds to go on the minor to Huffman. 1:12 left on the minor to Sutter. Back up come the Rangers, and Leach tries to get by. Karkner, but the puck lost. Cleared, but back to Mullen. Moves in, waits, creeps in. A shot deflected wide by Hextall. Picked up now and rolled along by Leach. Kissio is there. Pass tipped away, and Leach has to regather. The first minor penalty is up, so now it's a 5-on-4. Leach's pass deflected. It popped between Karkner and Samuelson, and Karkner flips it out of play into the glove of Ken Reggett, but Reggett sitting at the Flyers bench.
Always ready. Even had his glove on. There he is. Good save, Ken. We'll jack up that save percentage for you tonight with that save. What a likable guy. And opposite from Ron Hextall. Not in the sense that Hextall isn't likable, but Ron Hextall is so intense. And I think Ken Reggett is far more intense than he shows. I mean, everybody has their emotions, but people deal with them in different ways. Ron Hextall wears a lot of his emotions on his sleeve. He's a real intense guy. He's got a temper that is obviously flared a couple of times in his career. And Ken Reggett is, to the naked eye, so calm and so laid back.
Boy, they both made their initial impact on the league at about the same time. Hextall in his rookie year of '87, and Ken Reggett in the playoffs of 1986 with a subpar Toronto team that just happened to peak and play in front of a hot goaltender at the right time. It took St. Louis 6 games to eventually eliminate the Toronto Maple Leafs before going on to be eliminated themselves by Calgary in 7. And then Montreal defeated Calgary, a team that was pretty well spent after having to go 7 games against St. Louis.
No question that 7th game cost Calgary that year.
Puck tipped back down the ice. 30 seconds still to go on the Sutter minor. As Van Beesbroek turned it along to James Patrick. Up the wing now, moving it in deep. That time was Turcotte. Around it comes over for Millette, given a hard hit by Terry Kartner. Puck tapped along by Gartner, and then to the back it comes to Leach. Flips one that's off the skate of Samuelson and dealt back out by Derek Smith. 7:40 left, scoreless first period, but not at all uneventful. There have been some good chances at both ends. 7 shots Flyers, 5 shots Rangers. 3 seconds, 2, and out of the box comes Ron Sutter, and the Flyers have killed it off. Now weaving with it is Mike Gartner for the Rangers. Pivots on back, being chased by Pelle Eklund as the Flyers penalty killers get a big hand here. It is Derek Smith. Smith with a pass on the turning stick of Tocchet. Poke checked away. Good defensive work by Rochefort. And it is Craven starting back for Philadelphia. Craven flips one along for Rick Tocchet. Centered one. A save by Van Beesbroek, and the rebound flicked wide by Craven. Dumped along the boards, and the Rangers try to get back for it, but it's all the way down the ice, and Murphy arrives to touch up. We have an icing call. 6:53 to go in the opening period of this game, and we still have no score.
Well, the Flyers sure can be proud of their penalty killing this year. It has been consistent. It has been just about the only consistent thing that has been a positive all season long. Right now, the Flyers, penalty killing wise, are 4th in the NHL, but they're only 0.6 of a percentage point out of first place. And after the penalty had ended, Rick Tocchet went down the side, got it right in front to Murray Craven, and he just flipped it wide.
Much has been said about youth here in the Flyers' lair lately, and we were just comparing some numbers. The last time they played the Rangers a month ago, they averaged 26.3 years of age per man in the roster that night. And tonight, it was 25.1, except Bullard was scratched, and we had anticipated he might have played, and that brought it down to 25 years of age even. Puck rolled all the way back in. Hextall way out of his net, flipped one that went off Jansen's, and we get a stoppage of play, and Terry Gregson has noticed something, and it may be, well, we're not sure. But we are sure of one thing, that this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of Sports Channel America and is intended for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this event without the express written consent of Sports Channel America is prohibited. Offside was the call. We saw John Van Beesbroek, the Detroit-born goaltender for the Rangers. There were rumors all year long that he might be going back to Detroit.
Yeah, there were. Sure, Jim Devellano and Neil Smith had a whole bunch of conversations. Of course, it's easy to have those conversations with people that you know and that you know you're compatible with and that you get along with. That's something that's not considered, I think, by a lot of people. You know, an actual working relationship revolves around your ability to communicate with somebody else. So a lot of general managers don't trade with one another because they simply communicate on different wavelengths.
Puck frozen. Oh, a little extra shove from behind by McGuire. But that'll be it for now. 6:23 left in this first period. From the Spectrum in Philadelphia, the NHL on Sports Channel.
Lincoln Mercury dealers are celebrating Motor Trend's 1990 Car of the Year award with some award-winning values of their own.
You'll save with $1,000 customer cash on Mercury Cougar direct from Lincoln Mercury, $750 customer cash on Mercury Sable and Topaz, and $750 customer cash on the full-size Mercury Grand Marquis. Or ask your dealer about low financing on select models.
It's all going on right now. See your nearby Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
Here's how it started. Nothing came of it, but Horseva rode Berube out, and then Kevin McGuire came in and just leveled Horseva. One thing you got to know about Kevin McGuire, he's off the ice now. There's been a line change, but he came from the Buffalo organization, so he's going to be a disciplined player. He's a tough guy. He knows how to fight, but he knows when to fight as well. That's something that the Buffalo organization, I think, can take a lot of pride in. Their tough guys are disciplined tough guys and don't take a lot of dumb penalties.
I think it was true under Ted Sater and also under Rick Dudley, who is now in charge of that Buffalo team. That's why the Sabres have gradually gotten better and better over the last 3-4 seasons. Ahead with this now and throwing it back in is Tocchet. Into the corner goes Sinisalo. Muscled right off there by Moeller. Centering toss by Craven was right off Van Beesbrook and wide. Brought back out by Kissio. Pass up the wing, tipped loose by Kerry Huffman. Dump back out, and Moeller is there to take it. Moeller along with Rochefort, the Rangers defense. Now Mullen on to John Ogrodnik, moving in with Kissio and drops to him. Kissio over for Rochefort, and a shot! He scores! Off the glove of Hextall. Rochefort has gotten the first goal of the game.
You never know what you're going to get when you get up on the play, but if you get up on the play, every once in a while you're going to get one of these. Rochefort moved right into the high slot, took a good wrist shot. Tough to tell from that angle where that puck was headed. Then we'll see it from the reverse angle. There's no question that Ron Hextall had his glove on it, but he didn't squeeze it, and it went off his catching glove right in behind him. So with 5:32 to go in the first period, Norm Rochefort has given the Rangers a 1-0 lead. Ron Hextall appears to be shaken up on the play. Dave Settlemeyer's out there checking on him. Uh-oh. You may have noticed that Ron Hextall had to go down into kind of a splits position to try and make that save. And remember what kept him out of the lineup for so many games this year, that badly torn groin muscle. Here's a good look at it. Ron Hextall with the extension, the puck getting away from him. And you can only speculate, but if Ron Hextall's coming out of the game, I'm going to take a guess right now. And I'm going to guess hamstring or groin, because those are the two injuries that Ron Hextall has had a terrible time with this season. A disastrous time with this season.
And the applause comes up for Ken Regan. 26 straight games Hextall missed with a bad groin. And then earlier in the season in November, he missed 4 straight games. So 30 overall just for the groin, not to mention the hamstring.
Ken Regan had his hamstring problem earlier this season as well. But you heard the round of applause that Ken Regan got when he came in here. One thing about the fans here, they really acknowledge the yeoman job that Ken Regan has done this season. I mean, he's had to deal with the adversities too that Ron Hextall has had with, including Ron Hextall's holdout at the beginning of the year. Every second minute somebody was coming up to interview Ken Regan. He's been a cool customer and a great performer for the Flyers all season long.
Now he is in, and in a cold emergency role here, despite the fact that the Rangers have a 1-0 lead. He watches as play develops back now for Acton. Puck knocked on down and picked up by Rochefort, but lost. It is swept away from Kerr. Along now comes Eklund. Murphy, that time moving in deep for the Flyers was Acton. Held up along the boards by Patrick. Kerr tries to get loose, but can't. Now it's rolled along, and with it is Acton along the boards for Eklund, but it's taken away by Nichols. Nichols passes on now for a carry out by Mike Gartner. Murphy drops back on defense along with Barron as Gartner fires one, and it went wide. Reggett could not see that one coming, and it didn't miss by much. About the width of a puck wide. Drop back on, and here comes Bernie Nichols. Crosses to the slot. Drops it for the pickup that is brought on by Broughton, and his shot is blocked to the corner by Chychrun. Loose puck out in front. Nichols in front. Save made by Reggett, and he's able to cover and then put it in play to Linseman. Boy, Reggett has saved their bacon big time on the first flourish, this time by Nichols. Now staggering free is Broughton. Leaned on by Carkner, but he got a shot away, and Reggett hangs on to that one. Man, oh man, give him another chevron for his sleeve.
And the man's cool, isn't he?
Yeah.
Must have been sitting in a bucket of ice cubes on the bench. Boy, oh boy, Ken Regan.
Well, he did get a warm-up of that one shot that came over there, didn't
Sure,
he?
warm-ups are overrated. That was plenty. Great save right there on Bernie Nichols when he came in front, and then Gregson made him move it. He wanted to freeze this baby because he couldn't see what was behind him. He had to move that one, then he made another great save on Paul Broughton. Ever the teacher. Roger Nielsen has taught hockey players at just about every level, and that's one of the things he's noted for is his teaching ability. Finally, Gregson allowed Kenny Reggett to hang on to that one because there was a Ranger on his doorstep.
Mo Gilney with a couple for the Sabres tonight in Boston, so either Amtrak or Greyhound or something was running in that direction. And Reggie Lemelin is now in for Andy Moog as the Sabres have been able to chase Moog. Andrechuk also with a goal, and the Sabres with a 3-0 lead on the Bruins in the first period. Toronto 2-1 over Hartford in the first. Devils and the Islanders in the other Big Patrick Division matchup are scoreless. Here with 3:43 to go in the first, it's the Rangers 1 and the Flyers no score.
Let's try it on.
We interrupt this shopping trip. Charge it. To remind you the Discover card pays you cash back for every charge.
Super, Dad.
It pays to Discover.
Patrick Division rivals collide. Tough guy Rick Tocchet and the Flyers defend the honor of the Orange and Black in this battle with Scott Stevens and the Capitals. It's Washington versus Philadelphia. Live at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Sports Channel America, Saturday.
Boy, Brett Hull continues to struggle, doesn't he? 65. He got a 65th goal tonight.
You ever have that many?
Yep, I did. Honest, I did. And then I woke up and realized it was time to get out of bed, and now it was a bad day.
Here's Berube to Sutter, and a shot deflected wide by Bloomberg. Forced along the boards by Horsheva, and brought right back on as Turcotte leads the rush out for the Rangers. Turcotte tried to get it to Broughton, but it was blocked away. Horsheva able to reach it. Just shuffles one along for Broughton, but it's poked loose by Huffman. Then turned loose for Berube. Up the wing, he shoulders with Bloomberg. Turcotte able to move back, fires one wide. Hopped over to Shell Samuelson. Samuelson pivoting, dumps one along to Berube, and Berube can whip one back up now to Ron Sutter. Sutter crossing with McGuire. This puck trickled along to Berube. Lays it off the boards, and behind the net, McGuire. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Rangers. Here's Barron, a shot. That one plopped loose. They poke away at it, and it's gloved down by McGuire. We get a stoppage of play, and the Flyers will be going on a power play with 2:43 to go here in this first period.
I think it's going to be Randy Moeller. You know, I talked about Norm Rochefort when he scored his goal. I said, when you get up on the play, you never know what's going to happen, but very often something good happens as long as you don't get caught. Well, it's the same thing when you put your head down and drive for the net. Very often a puck will get through, it'll bounce off you, or you'll get a rebound. A lot of times in a worst case scenario, there's the trip right there. A lot of times in the worst case scenario, you'll at least draw a penalty. So with Ron Sutter driving for the net, Randy Moeller was forced to drag him down. The Flyers are on the power play.
Well, we certainly don't want to forecast a bad open for any player, but just in speculative nature, if this is a re-injury to Hextall, how bright does Bobby Clarke look for holding on to Ken Reggett when many people in town were urging him to make a trade of some kind involving Reggett toward the end of the trading deadline earlier this week? I think he found last year you just can't have too many goaltenders when Reggett kept them in the playoffs in the 7th game at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think that Neil Smith feels the same way. I mean, you've got to have a great deal. If you're going to deal one of your major league goaltenders, you better get something real good back.
Here is Tocchet. Poke checked away, swung back off the wall that time by Rochefort and dealt back down. 2:10 to go in the first period. Rangers have the lead in the game, 1-0. The Flyers on their second power play as Reggett connects back up the boards to Rick Tocchet. Tocchet moving ahead with Pelle Eklund. Deals it on back for Murphy. Poke checked away by Ruff, and Ruff, while falling, is just able to brush it back. Shift change on for the Rangers as pivoting with this now is Murray Craven. Met by Kissio, but he winds away from him. Had a pass blocked down by Mullen, but brings it further. Drops on to Tocchet. Across for Kerr. Gives to the back to Murphy. Shovels one to Tocchet. Tocchet back to Murphy. Shoot! Score!
What a great shot by Gord Murphy. And you know, it wasn't a shot that had goal written on it at all. It was a nice, low, deflectable shot that went through a whole bunch of people. Did it hit anybody? Ken Linseman almost reacted as if it had hit him. But look at the screen that Van Beesbroek had to look through. Kissio was out at the point, then Rochefort was in closer, then there was Linseman. I don't even know if he saw that until it was right at his doorstep. No, Gord Murphy got it. All the way it was his, and he was helped out not only by Kenny Linseman, but by both Rangers. I'm really surprised that Rochefort stayed there to screen as well.
Tocchet and Kerr get the assist, and it was Ken Reggett who really worked it up the board so the Flyers could break out and get that play established as Tocchet was able to carry from Reggett's clear. Well, back they come now. The puck dumped in near Reggett. Out to get it. Swings one along that is cut off and spiked down by Moeller. Turned back for Leach. Then up the wing from Millette along to Nichols. He's just bear hugged out of the way by Samuelson. And the pass across is cut by Millette. Moves to the slot and fires. That one knocked down off a Ranger, but going down to the ice was Gartner, and Huffman will be penalized on an interference wrap. And so with 1:04 to go in the first period and the game tied at 1, the Rangers will swing on to their 4th power play.
Tough break for Kerry Huffman. You know, he tried that diagonal pass. Interference is the call. And there it is. As Mike Gartner was breaking for Ken Reagan, Huffman just upended him. But you get an adrenaline surge. I mean, when you're the guy that passes the puck and it gets cut like that, one thing you want to do is get right back in there and get it back. Make a good play. And very often you get so mad, you get a big adrenaline surge. You hit a guy up high like that. Gardner went down pretty quickly. Of course, Gardner can make it look good. Gardner doesn't have a reputation as being a diver in the NHL. And if you watch hockey long enough, you'll see the best divers are the ones that are undetectable. The guys you don't know are diving. And that's Gartner. He went down a lot harder than he had to on that play.
Well, we have a face-off to involve Nichols and Craven. Millette is up front. Also up for the face-off will be Gartner. It is swung by Craven, but right to Leach. Waits in the final minute of play. Shoots one, tipped right in on Reggett. Getting a deflection there was Gartner, and Reggett was able to get his pads on it. Now it is Nichols working the outside. Creeps, hands on back. Big drive by Turcotte. Hit the post. And it's flipped back out by Sutter. Brought on now by Craven. Stripped right away from him by Millette. Millette with a battle on his hands, but is able to emerge. Millette moving on Shell Samuelson. Drops it back off to Nichols. Nichols then to the back. It is controlled across to Leach. Flings it across for Nichols. Gartner at the front. The puck to Millette. Bumped off by Eklund. And Terry Gartner can wheel back out with it. He's got Tocchet ahead. But that pass is cut right off by Horshava. He starts back. Now they wheel on around. And the puck went right by. Is spun back out by Gartner, but kept alive by Leach, though brought out by Eklund with 8 seconds to go in the period. On to Rick Tocchet. Tocchet drops for Eklund, and that one intercepted, and with 2 seconds to go, the Rangers have to hurry, but can't get a shot away as the period comes to a close. Shots on goal in the period for the Flyers, 9 for the Rangers, 9. It was Rochefort, his second from Kissio and Ogrodnik at 14:28. Murphy, his 12th, third on the power play from Tocchet and Kerr at 18:24. 6 minors in the period, one of them outstanding. It'll be a Ranger power play when the second period gets underway. Reggett roughing up the goal crease. John Van Beesbrook has already done it. 1-1 the score. Rangers to have a power play at the outset of this second period. Flyers have dressed Pete Peters in the backup role now to Reggett. That's something that they are permitted to do. Any available goaltender at any time during the season. At one time in the early part of the 80s, you could only dress a goaltender that was on the lineup card. So if you hurt one and another got tossed out, you had to go with the hilarity of using a defenseman or a forward. But now any goaltender in the building, and it helps to carry one as a trainer too.
But I bet you Pete has his shirt and tie and his suit coat on under there. He doesn't figure to sweat a lot in the next 2 periods. And the word on Ron Hextall's injury is that he is, in fact, gotten himself into a problem with his groin again. Not sure whether it's the exact same injury as it was before, but it's certainly very similar. So Ron Hextall has pulled or torn a groin muscle. He is gone. Kerry Huffman's still in the penalty box. Rangers are still in the power play here.
And they'll use Kissio, Ogrodnik, and Mullen. Right now, the hottest forward combination in the NHL. All of them have scoring streaks going, and they've accounted for 17 of the Rangers' goals over the last 10 games. Leach will work in back on one point, and it will likely be Turcotte to work the other, and yeah, that'll be the case. So the pass comes right on for the carry by Kissio. Fires one around the boards. Stopped by Reggett. Reggett swings it there. Turcotte tries to keep. Rushed by Sutter. Turned it along to Kissio. Kissio deals it off to John Ogrodnik. To the back now to Turcotte. Fakes but has to hand over to Leach. Penalty time is down to 30 seconds. Trying to fake and control now is Turcotte. To the back to Leach. Turcotte blasts one. And that one went wide. Around now to Leach once more. Has it out-dueled by Tocchet, and here comes Ron Sutter trying to catch up as Turcotte. Sutter controlling, he hit the post with a shot. A Around the boards it comes, and of course the Flyers are maintaining, or their fans are, that a stick was thrown. Puck turned right back out, and Samuelsson able to reach it. Flyers fans are really steamed because they got a penalty shot in the Rangers game earlier this year when it was Mike Richter who threw the stick.
I think they got a pretty good argument on this one.
We'll get a chance to look at it again. Here is Leach pivoting and controlling for a pass off of Ogrodnik, and the Flyers can bring it back out once more. Penalty time is up, by the way, but the Rangers turn it back. Ogrodnik's pass is tipped loose over near Terry Karkner. Karkner able to make the rush back out, and it's brought on by Acton over to Eklund, around in front off of Van Beesbroek. And Leach able to scoop it up and nudge it back out for Ogrodnik. Cut off and swung back by Murphy and dealt right back in on Van Beesbroek, and the Flyers are wired up right now. Puck turned along to Acton. Has Kerr nearby and gives to him. Pass, though, is checked away by Bernie Nichols. Picked up by Acton again. Then along to Eklund for Kerr. And again flicked loose by Nichols, but regathered by Kerr. Screened off was Nichols by Eklund as Kerr tries to shake loose. Backhands one that's held at the side of the goal. Puck down front. They score! All the Rangers!
Right into the corner of his own net. Brian Leach just rifled that one. What a break for the Flyers. Great moves, though, out in the slot by Tim Kerr. He got some help from Pelle Eklund, who set a pick for him. And in this play, looked pretty innocent. Dumped it in front. Got his own rebound. There's Brian Leach, number 2. Bingo. He may have even caught the post. Pelle Eklund raises his stick.
Well,
will Eklund get credit for it?
No, it'll be Kerr's goal because he was the last to touch unless Acton got it there. Did Acton get that too?
I don't know, but did Leach ever snap that one into the corner? You wait a long time for a bonus like this one, but when it comes, you go, yeah.
Even the best of all defensemen do it. We've seen it happen to Larry Robinson and a lot of the all-time greats.
And you wonder when you do it in your own net how you missed those 7 or 8 in the last 2 months at the other end.
Well, Kerr gets a goal unassisted. The one that was put into the net by Brian Leach. And the Flyers have the lead in the game for the first time, 2-1. Mellanby with a pass ahead now to Ken Lynchman. Moving up with Derek Smith. The drop comes to Smith. Banned on his shooting attempt and wiped out on the lean of Blomberg. And back come the Rangers. This one is floated across, and trying to catch up to it that time was Gartner, but it's brought on by Scott Mellanby. Mellanby controlling to Lynchman, and a shot blocked away by Van Beesbroek. Millette checked by Lynchman to the corner. The Flyers go scrapping for it, and we get a stoppage of play. And the Flyers come out feisty here in the second period.
Well, I remember a couple of minutes ago when the fans here were booing, calling for a penalty or a penalty shot because Darren Turcotte threw his stick. Watch this.
Oh, it may have been kicked.
Oh, boy, I tell you what, that's a good angle of it. Good angle of it. Looked as if he was still holding onto it, you're right, until it got in front of Ron Sutter's skates, and then Sutter's skate might have kicked it out of Turcotte's hand.
I can't remember which side of the ice Terry Gregson was on at the time. If he would have been on the opposite side, he might have seen it differently. No, I think he was on the left side. I remember looking over toward him to see whether he'd call it or not. Veteran official of NHL wars, groomed in the International and American and Western Canada hockey leagues, as most are before they come to the NHL. Jansen's in on the faceoff with Ron Sutter. Puck turned back, but cut off by Miller. Then nudged back out by Miller and kicked loose, and Jansen's is able to deal this one back in, but it'll be an icing call as Chychrun goes back to touch up. 17:08 to go here in the second period. 2-1 Flyers. You're watching the NHL on Sports Channel.
Got a cold? Gotta keep going? Gotta go with Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine. When you gotta keep going, you gotta go with Alka-Seltzer Plus.
We have confirmation from the Flyers that the groin pull to Hextall was on the other leg than the one that he had the prior injuries with. He missed 4 earlier in the season, 4 games on a groin, and then 26 on the same one again. Well, this one is different. You often wonder how they can be unrelated because, boy, in that same general area, to have one on one side and then on the other, but that'll be the case now. We've no idea as to how long it'll be.
Kind of the same thing, only different.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
All the way down this will go. Will the Flyers get there first? Yes, that's the case, and so icing is called against the Rangers, and back it'll come near John Van Beesbroek.
You know, while it is such a great advantage for the Rangers to have a lead as the game goes along, it's also just as great an advantage for the Flyers to have the lead because the Rangers' numbers are so lopsided. They're so good defensively, and they really lack so much punch up front with their offense. So the lead is going to be important for both of these teams. Well, our good folks at Budweiser want to take a moment to remind everybody, when you're having good times with good friends, use good sense and drink responsibly. Please know when to say when.
Off the face-off, puck one between Chychrun and also Murphy, and so back they go to get it. This is Murphy pivoting, flipping a pass that ricocheted off the skate of Craven. Now turned right back in and brought along by Broughton. Broughton right out in front, poke check by Reggett, loose puck hooked away by Reggett, away from the reach of Turcotte. Here come the Rangers again, and a backhander that came from Broughton was blocked off by Murphy. So the Rangers, though not with a great deal of fluency, were able to sneak right in there and get a couple of chances on Reggett. And he helped himself big time with some clears. A headman pass to Turcotte, and a pad stop made by Reggett on him. Now it's Leach wheeling in. Couldn't get to the front, but goes to the back. Magnificent control, and then the net dislodged behind Reggett. Play halted with 15:54 to go here in the second period. Flyers have the lead in the game 2-1 on Tim Kerr's unassisted goal at 1:54.
Boy, Ken Reggett sure read that Turcotte chance well. Turcotte came over the blue line. Nice lead pass to him to spring him away, and he had to take the shot. Murray Barron was coming over. Look how far out Ken Reggett is. Now, I got talking to Kenny this morning about some of his equipment. I looked at his skates, and he said these are kind of antiques. Up until March, believe it or not, the boot of his skate, now the boot has a shell on the outside of it, the boot was a 1973 original. He got him when he was 11 years old. And he knew exactly what they cost at $125.73. And he said that was a lot. Now he got them replaced with boots that are almost as old as that. The only ones he could find to match the shell that could fit inside the shell. And he's just about due for new pads. You could see his pads there. Those he only started with in October. But he's going to finish out the week with these old pads and then break in some new ones.
Gosh, wouldn't you think that somewhere along the line in junior or the Maple Leafs or the Flyers, somebody to bought him a pair?
Well, I mean, they had to customize a pair. It was, everybody wanted. I'm sure every trainer that he's ever had has tried to talk him into a new pair. I mean, he's a pain for a trainer because he insists on on the antique footwear.
To the corner now, down to the ice goes Mullen. This time Acton able to bump it along. First one there is Ogrodnik, though. He's got Rochefort in front, and he directed the shot wide. Pivoting with it is Mullen. Swings one that is snapped out of the air and held by Reggett for a stoppage of play.
Got the 1990 glove, though, doesn't he?
Yes.
1990 arms to go with it.
Boy, 1973 glove would be half the size, wouldn't it?
Boy, if there was anything left of it, sure. No, the gloves usually last, and the pads usually last, depending on how much you play. Not much longer than a year, not much longer than a season, and most goalies will tell you that, unless they really get attached to a piece of equipment and get it restrung, get the glove rewoven with new leather straps on it and everything. But in general, a year is plenty, especially if you sweat a lot. The guys that sweat a lot go through their equipment a lot faster when it has to get wet and dry, get wet and dry on a 24-hour basis so many times. It really takes a lot out of the stability of it. That's why a lot of the synthetics last a lot longer and why they're selling so well. Leather just deteriorates like crazy when you sweat into it.
A shot by Bloomberg, tipped back out by Reggett, and Sutter is able to tap it back. Now it's kept alive and dumped back in by Bloomberg. Flipped right back out again. Bernie Nichols controls. Right on the money for Troy Millette. But it's kept by Huffman and turned out. Picked up by Derek Smith. Wedged right off by Mark Gardner, who was on him quickly. And it's given across now to Horsheva. Moves in and floated a prayer ahead to Nichols, but answering it is Samuelson. Samuelson with a pass that's brought back up now by Huffman. A 4-on-2. Moving in is Huffman with a pass across to Smith. Taken right out of the play by Bloomberg. Shoveled along, and up with this now is Millette. Troy Millette nudging it along for Horschiva. Has Gartner drifting on the wing. The drop pass comes to Millette to Gartner. Turned aside by Reggett. Around it clicks to Horschiva. Winds a pass along for Millette. Given a hit. Up with it, though, is Mike Gartner. Gartner drops to Horschiva. Fires, and that went off a skate wide. It may have been Huffman's and not Reggett's. All the way back out, controlled by Moeller. 14-12 to go in the second period. Teams at full strength. Flyers have the lead 2-1 on a Tim Kerr goal that was credited to him, though it was put into the net by Brian Leach of the Rangers. Along the boards, it is held underneath the fallen body of Ken Lintzman, and we get a stoppage of play. With the score, Flyers 2, the Rangers 1. Let's pause for a moment.
I'd rather switch than itch, so I switched to Tegrin.
Tegrin medicated shampoo controls all the major causes of itching and flaking, so Tegrin is more than strong enough for tough dandruff like yours.
Wouldn't you rather switch than itch?
Patriot Division rivals collide. Tough guy Rick Tocchet and the Flyers defend the honor of the Orange and Black in this battle with Scott Stevens and the Capitals. It's Washington versus Philadelphia. Live at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Sports Channel America, Saturday.
Boy, what a first period Murray Craven had on the draw. 6 for 6 on the faceoffs. The Flyers won 14 of 20. They were dominant here against the Bruins a couple nights ago. Didn't seem to help, though. Ended up losing. It's almost as if the Flyers are constantly sitting on a keg of dynamite that has a fuse burning down. And if the game can end before the wick burns all the way down to the keg, they got a shot at it. But so often, that keg has exploded under them right in the last seconds of the game.
Backhander by Tocchet through the crease. And it is dealt back for Jansen. Poked loose, but Leach tries to carry ahead. Gets it up the wing for a shot. Oh, and a scorcher by Miller. Rolled along by Jansen, who's hit by Craven. And then a little pop by Chychrun came back over to Lindy Ruff. Cranks a shot that goes wide. Kept alive by Moeller. Chopped back along, and help came from Jansen's to keep it alive. It's dumped over for Ruff, who centered. But no one there except Tocchet, who whipped one across that came to Karkner. And Karkner's pass is cut at the line by Moeller. Then Chychrun taps it ahead. Lindy Ruff connects across. Trying to finesse with it was Miller that time, but it's taken over by Karkner. Karkner's pass on the money to Murray Craven. Moving ahead with Tocchet. Craven moves in. Hands over for Ilka Sinisalo. Sinisalo on the left wing tonight. Dumped one in front that is just poked away to the corner by Van Beesbrook. Craven checks his man there. To a side, continue the battle along the boards. And Chris King, to our recollection, his first shift tonight, at least the first one in this period, watches now as Moeller deals it back in. Another fire drill at the Rangers bench as they were coming and going all over the place. Puck kicked back out now by Sutter and gathered in by Rochefort. Rochefort with the Rangers' only goal tonight. Murphy tied it late in the first, and Kerr broke the tie. Here in the second, and it's 2-1 Flyers as Berube's pass is off McGuire. Dealt back out, and Murray Barron to get it. Hands right back across to Murphy. Murphy's pass is tipped loose by Turcotte. Dealt back in by Berube. Along to get it is Sutter. What a hit on him by Rochefort. And it's now Berube along to Sutter again. Sutter out in the front, and it's tipped aside by Rochefort and flipped back along by Broughton. Boy, the glass really rattled on that hit by Rochefort on Sutter.
Rochefort is possibly the most underrated hitter in the NHL, and Ron Sutter gave away about 25 pounds to him. You know, the New York Rangers players really count on Rochefort's case because he hits like that every once in a while in practice. I mean, he loves to hit.
Here's a tip by Acton, and it is grabbed off by Van Beesbrook, and then help came from the defense to secure it. We pause from the Spectrum for a regional break. You're watching the NHL on Sports Channel.
Sports Channel America presents the hot shots of the collegiate circuit. Feel the power and excitement of men's college basketball. Our coverage is highlighted by 20 appearances of the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, 8 run-and-gun shootouts with the Running Rebels of UNLV, the Atlantic 10 Conference Game of the Week, plus appearances by UCLA, Temple, Florida, defending national champion Michigan, and much more. You'll be slamming and jamming with sizzling college basketball on Sports Channel America.
Boy, the Pistons were pounding on this one. Rochefort cranks Ron Sutter, boom, into the glass. You almost want to get airborne. If you go down and hit the boards, not nearly as much give as the glass.
Samuelson fires this one back in, and it is dealt right back around for Leach. Brian Leach, young defenseman for the Rangers, who is bound to be a perennial all-star in this league. Wrap that one around, but it is Kerr up with it. Now on to Keith Acton. Leach tries to close on him, and Acton just pushed down. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Rangers, and the Flyers, with a 1-goal lead, will be swinging onto the power play for the 3rd time.
The little guy had the long stride working then. Keith Acton turned on the burners. Randy Moeller got a piece of him. But as Keith Acton has played more, he has played faster. He has really been able to skate and get a little more room for himself. And you saw Moeller pull him down. Moeller hooked him, and Keith Acton fell about a stride and a half after that. So the Flyers will take that break. And Keith Acton, as a confident hockey player, is much faster than Keith Acton as a hockey player that doesn't have that much confidence. And it's the same any sport, any athlete. All of those physical attributes that you have seem to magnify and seem to grow when the head is working. It's a pretty simple statement. The body follows the mind, and when the mind is right, the legs follow.
I think Randy Moeller noticed a difference in take-home pay now that he's out of Quebec.
Well, now, what is he doing here? What is Mike Finicchiaro doing here?
The boss is on hand.
The boss, our executive producer, is watching the game from the stands. Who's going to critique us?
He's got great seats right next to the ice, too, and has had them for years. Here is Kerr trying to get there. Then to Eklund, to the back. Craven, a shot tipped wide by Kerr. Around now to Murphy. Murphy flips one. Eklund, nice dish off to Tocchet, and a shot tipped wide by Kerr again. Rochefort trying to do the number on Kerr, and that's tough. To the back it comes now to Craven. Murray Craven deals it off to Eklund once more. Back to Craven. Pass broken up. Kelly Kissio starting ahead. Wants to get away from Craven. Still trying to turn. Ridden off by Craven, and Eklund comes by to take it. 10.5 to go in the second. 2-1 Flyers. Penalty time down to 1:20. A collision at center ice. 2 players slow to get back up, but do. Mullen and Tocchet. Set up by Van Beesbrook. Wheeled around the boards by Patrick, and all the way back down it goes. Reg it out to Tapp onto the turning stick of Gord Murphy. Pivoting in front of the cage. Murphy can start it back up with a pass on now to Ken Lintzman. Flying in on Leach. Lintzman had that one deflected away, and so Karkner will have to retrieve, and Craven comes off too. Lintzman, Tocchet, and Kerr up front for the Flyers power play as it's wound around near Van Beesbrook. Just deals it back across and nearly connected with Lindy Ruff. Back down now for Reggett to tap and Karkner to take. Left it behind, but plenty of time. 40 seconds to go on the Flyer man advantage. Flyers are 1 for the previous 2. This is their 3rd opportunity, as on with it is Huffman. Then to Sinisalo to Huffman to Lintzman, and the pass went by him. Now it's Karkner along for Huffman, but it's just chopped back out again by Leach. Rangers, a bit beleaguered right now, are able to make a change, bringing Broughton on. Leach has been out the whole time, and Leach is able to swing one back off the stick of Janssens and down on Reggett. And Reggett had to turn it away up to Karkner. 8 seconds to go on the power play. Sinisalo sets it up for Eklund to rush in. Eyed up by Leach. Eklund, a backhander, and that went right off the chest of Van Beesbrook. Dealt right back out to Eklund. Has a man in front. Gives to Murphy. Score!
Kelly Eklund has it in high gear tonight. Boy, when he has his skating legs and the desire to hang on to the puck, there aren't many people that can get it from him. Went all the way around the net, picked up his own rebound, and came out, dished it back to Gord Murphy. It hit somebody. I don't think it hit Scott Mellenby. But watch Eklund. He made the whole play. Thought for a second he carried it too far. Not so. Gordon Murphy with a nice low shot in behind Van Beesbrook. We'll have to wait for the official call. Maybe we'll see it on this one. Yeah, Gordon Murphy has his second of the night. The Flyers lead 3-1.
Eklund gets one assist, and Ilka Sinisalo the other on Murphy's 13th at 10:58. And for Gord Murphy, his second two-goal effort of the year. Now here's Nichols, a shot, snapped right up and held by Reggett. Ken Reggett comes up big time again. We pause now for a regional break. You're watching the NHL on Sports Channel.
Talk about big saves at big times. Well, Ken Reggett sure made one on Bernie Nichols. Right after Gord Murphy scored, Nichols came down and rifled one that Ken Reggett was able to glove, and that's at a big time of a hockey game.
Boy, there was a guy that said, look, Los Angeles made a mistake, and I'm going to show him they did, and he has. Score! Off the face-off, a drive by Patrick, and this is a big night for defensemen. Leach put one in his own net. Murphy put two. Rochefort one. And now, unless there's a tip, Patrick gets one.
You know, Bernie Nichols got this draw clean from Ron Sutter. That was one of the keys. Give everybody a chance to move. Did that hit anybody? Almost looked as if it hit Bernie Nichols' stick just before it went in. But Ron Sutter went for the clean win there. It did hit Bernie Nichols' stick, you know that? Hit Bernie Nichols' stick or Ron Sutter's stick. But it sure was a rocket. Bernie Nichols ends up getting an assist. James Patrick ends up getting the goal. And the Rangers have closed it to 3-2. But that baby hit something when it was close to the net.
Puck tipped back out, slugged back in by Gartner. So Kerr was credited with a goal that went off of Leach, and the other goals tonight have been scored by defensemen. 3-2, Flyers ahead. Entertaining game tonight. We hope you're enjoying it on Sports Channel. Flyers trailing the Rangers, or rather leading the Rangers by 1 with 8 minutes to go in the second period of the game. Every game down the stretch here becomes a must game for your team if you're out of the running for the playoffs, and the Flyers are right now by 3 points for the last berth. Meanwhile, the Islanders and Devils are playing, two teams that are tied for third. And the Devils have a 2-0 lead at the Meadowlands in the second. The Islanders are winless in the last 10 games. The Devils 4-10-4 in the last 18. So two struggling teams going at it there as Gartner moves in. Gartner pivots, has Horshov up for the shot, and that one snapped up by Reggett, fought off the attack of Nichols, who was there, and dealt it up to Derek Smith. Then along to Mellanby again. And Mellanby dumps it in. Shift change on for the Flyers. Sinisalo comes out to work along with Murray Craven and Tocchet. And here's a chance for Mullen on a breakaway. Look, shoot, he scores! And the game is tied at 3. The Flyers had just changed, and the Rangers have sneaked one by. A goal by Mullen to make it a 3-3 tie.
All right, reverse angle all the way from the Rangers' end. As soon as Mullen saw the Flyers in the middle of their change, he went for the breakaway pass. And what a great relay up to him. Super move by Mullen. You saw how he froze Ken Reggett by dropping his shoulder and faking a shot. Watch it. Watch him freeze Ken Reggett right there with the drop of the shoulder. And once he froze Ken Reggett, he was able to go wide. Made sure he got it up high, jammed it right under the bar, went to the shelf, and tied the game at 3.
Nichols will get one assist. There may not be another. That came at 12:51. Loose puck knocked loose off of Chychrun and then ricocheted back off Ogrodnik. Picked up and rolled along for Sinisalo, but back checked away by Mullen. flips one that hops back down, and so Mullen has scored in 10 straight games for the Rangers now.
Boy, that pass had to be perfect. We know Bernie Nichols is a scorer, but he's got over 60 assists this year as well. He's only 2 points shy of 100. He can really feather it.
Moving in on this one now is Craven. It came behind to Tocchet. Fought off by Bloomberg. Sinisalo a shot, and that blocked down. Kelly Kissio picks it up. Advances it up the wing to Mullen. Has a trailer on the play. Horsheva. It's off his stick, and Horsheva tries to follow up. Miloslav Horsheva tried to dump it along for Ogrodnik. Here's Tocchet trying to get loose and comes up the wing. Big drive is just sticked right back by Van Beesbroek on the challenge. And it's flipped back out where Murphy must play. Flyers in the midst of a change once more. Barron drives one that's sticked aside by Van Beesbroek. Swung around the boards by Bloomberg, and here's a chance for a 2-on-1 that got Ogrodnik up the wing, and carrying is Kissio. Big drive, and that deflected into the seats and a stoppage of play. 5:42 to go in the second. With the score of the game, the Flyers and Rangers tied at 3. We'll return in a moment.
Hey, guys. We found a cool new way to get vitamin C.
Really?
No kidding. Look, new nice vitamin C drops. Yeah. You get a full day's supply of vitamin C in every cool, soothing drop.
Well, what do you think?
Real cool. New from those cold experts at Nice.
The Warriors. The battle. The toughest men on the planet.
Oh, what a shot by Maynard, and down goes Key.
The Sports Channel Pro Boxing Tour. Monday nights at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Sports Channel America.
Jeff Bloomberg also gets an assist on the goal scored by Mullen. Mullen's 21st. Nichols and Bloomberg the assist at 12:51. And so the Rangers struck quickly in 1 minute and 25 seconds. They came from 2 down to tie this game. 5:40 to go, second period. The tie score is 3 if you're just joining us. Kerr with a pass that came on up to Eklund. Moving along with Keith Acton. Gives it to him. Acton turned it across the goal mouth and through the crease. Murphy took a hit but got it punched to the corner. Rochefort up with it, though. His pass up the wing just tipped loose by Acton. Spun right back and all the way down. There'll be an icing call if the Flyers get there first. Ruff gets in and is able to cancel it off, though Murphy is able to come up with a puck for the Flyers defense. Murphy's pass wound through to Kerr. 3-on-2 developing. Kerr there, dips the shoulder, tries to get in. Wrestled off by Rochefort. Flyers fans want a penalty, but they don't get it. Behind the net, 2-a-side battle, and it came back up for Chychrun. Wedged off, but covering is Karkner. Had it knocked away by Ruff. And then able to strip it right back is Karkner again. Terry Karkner able to trickle one back to the corner, and Rochefort will go to get it there. Karkner and Chychrun the defense, and now it is Sutter with Berube and McGuire. The punch line, if you want to look at it that way, they sure do a lot of hitting out there. That's the unit that's up right now for the Flyers. It is thrown right back out again by Karkner. And of course, if the gloves have to come off, I guess you could call them the punch wingers anyway, McGuire and Berube. McGuire winds up sitting on a Ranger defenseman, but here they come back out. Headman pass up the wing. Gartner a drive, and that one's trapped by Reagan. And he'll just wait. Boy, that's the one time tonight that Mike Gartner has really been able to tee up and fire a shot.
17,423. You don't think the Rangers got a fast skater in Mike Gartner at the skills competition at the All-Star break? Mike Gartner won it. I mean, he still has the jets, and he's hit the 30-year-old mark, but it hasn't seemed to slow him down at all. He's got 3 real good years left in him anyway. He's got 34 goals, got them all playing with the North Stars, got a great shot, great work ethic. A lot of people are probably saying, well, why did they trade him? Well, Mike Gartner was on a 1-year deal. The Minnesota North Stars were going to have to re-sign him. He's in the superstar, just about in the superstar category. The North Stars haven't drawn worth a darn this hockey season. You got to think that there was something to do with the fiscal responsibility involved in that trade to the New York Rangers. The Rangers have a budget that won't quit. The Minnesota North Stars aren't the wealthiest organization. They're losing money right now, and with Mike Gartner being on a 1-year deal, they had to look at contract.
Off the face-off, puck back to the point, and a shot went wide as Reggett was bumped into by Gartner and by, I believe it was Chychrun. Puck worked along the boards, and it kicked on back. No, it was Huffman, as we see now that he's the guy who takes over the puck back behind the goal. Gary Huffman for the Flyers turns it along to Samuelson. Crisp pass ahead now to Derek Smith. Smith dumps to the corner. Back to get that now is Leach. Trying to get away from Smith. Puck held to the side of the goal for a moment, then wedged off, and Mellenby there. Punch back to the point. Huffman with a shot, and that deflected wide off a Ranger. Along the boards, it is brought back up by King. Moving along with Turcotte. King tries to dance through the defense, and the puck ricocheted to the corner. Then King sandwiched a guy with Gartner. That was Huffman, and the puck came back to the point. Horshiva moves right in. Deals one to Turcotte, and the shot is tipped away by Reggett. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Flyers. On the delayed call, Van Beesbrook hustles to the bench. Kissio will be the extra man. He joins the play. Horshiva waiting, firing a shot off the glass. King spiked one right front. They score!
Boy, Ken Reggett is arguing either that he was interfered with or the net was already off its little post. But the Rangers kept working at this. The penalty was going to be against Ken Linseman. He had Chris King down and wouldn't let him up. Finally, the Rangers got their extra attacker out there. Chris King picked that baby out of midair and knocked the puck back into the pads of Kenny Reggett. And then Mike Gardner got the puck as it was lying there. The net was still on its posts. You saw that Kjell Samuelsson actually knocked it off. I have no idea what Ken Reggett is arguing about.
Maybe high stick.
But there is King picking it out of midair on the bounce. Who hit Ken Reggett to send him forward like that when he fell out of the play?
You know, I couldn't tell. I thought maybe he had an argument about the puck being knocked down by a high stick, even though it was clear in the replay that it wasn't that high. But anyhow, the Rangers have gotten 3 straight, and they're rushing right back in again. John Ogrodnik is there. Checked hard to the corner by Craven. Ogrodnik turned it behind, but up with it is Murphy. Starts it back for the Flyers. 2:45 to go in the second. Murphy angles one. First one there, Sinisato. Taps it behind the net, and Tocchet is rushed off. Tocchet tries to tap it along, and ahead to get it is John Ogrodnik, moving right back out conservatively with Mullen. Kissio moves up with a play to the pass to him, around in front, he scores! Kissio, and the Rangers have gotten 4 straight goals and lead in the game by a count of 5-3.
This line has been a killer to a lot of teams, and Ogrodnik is able to lead the rush cross center, and everybody backs in. Once everybody backs in, Kelly Kissio was able to get by Ilka Sinisalo. Perfect pass from Ogrodnik. You got to pay a little higher price than this to get the blue line, and John Ogrodnik didn't pay a very high price. Both Murray Barron and Gord Murphy backed in, and then Ilka Sinisalo didn't have Kelly Kissio. Let's watch it. See Barron backing up. Ogrodnik went wide, smart play, and then Kissio just broke by Ilka Sinisalo. But that was a basic 3-on-3 play. You see what happens when you give a guy time and you give a guy space. And that's what Ogrodnik had, both of those precious commodities, and he made the best of it. Rangers lead 5-3.
Kissio 17 from Ogrodnik and Patrick. 4 goals in 6 minutes and 6 seconds of time. And the Flyers had a 3-1 lead on Murphy's goal midway in this period. But now trail in the contest 5-3. Millette run off by Chychrun. Now Kerr tries to get to the slot. Defended by Moeller, but he still got a backhander away that was blocked aside by Van Beesbrook. Now Karkner shovels one that is blocked off by Gartner. Turned back off Terry Karkner again. Tries to hold it to the boards for a moment, then decides to kick it back. It is Leach along to Millette in the last minute and 50 seconds of the second period. It is Acton having that one hooked away from him by Gartner. Mike Gartner had the earlier goal from King and Horshiva. Gartner's 35th. That was at 16:51 for those of you keeping a close count of this game. Here's Eklund. He had Kerr, but wiping out was Leach. Little pass in front, spiked wide by Keith Acton. Kerr tries a backhander, and that one sent aside. Back to Chychrun, who couldn't one time that stiff pass from Acton, and back down it goes. Terry Karkner to play in the last 80 seconds of this period. Karkner floats one out that is cut off by Moeller. Spun right back off the shank of the stick of Millette. Has a man moving. It's Miller, and is able to toss along to him. Chychrun able to backhand that one away, and there's some open ice for Craig Berube to bring it back up. He's got McGuire along with him, and Berube just drops one to the corner. Around the boards, Patrick dumps one aside now for Miller. Turns it ahead to Millette, and the Rangers have it 3-on-2. It's given over to James Patrick. Offside is called on Janssens. Clock stopped with 53 seconds to go in the second, and the Rangers in the lead, 5-3.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes.
But I discovered the 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
You'll be updated on other scores, but my goodness, Buffalo 7, Boston 2 at Boston Garden in the second. Andy Moog is back in. They've gone through 2 of the best goaltenders in the league, the Bruins have tonight, because of Buffalo's onslaught. Devils 3-0 over the Islanders in the second. Toronto 4-2 over Hartford in the second. Detroit 2 now, and St. Louis 1 in the second, and there'll be updates by the time Sports Nightly gets to you midway in the intermission. There'll be a penalty coming up, and it'll be against the Flyers.
Craig Berube really took down Lindy Ruff in the neutral zone from the side. But McGuire was there as well. Right there, kaboom, or at least Kerry Huffman was there. A crunch, what a hit by Craig Berube, but it cost him. Being escorted to the box now.
Craig Berube, 2 minutes for charging. Time 19 minutes, 31 seconds. Craig Berube, Flyers,
A charge on Ruff.
Well, this will be the 5th Rangers power play. And they have been a team that has been kept off the scoreboard in terms of power play goals tonight, but you keep spinning the chamber of the pistol each time you sit in the box against them.
Boy, Ruff didn't even see him coming. That one had to hurt. Trying to get it going, trying to stir it up. Told me walking into the Spectrum tonight he'll do anything it takes to win a hockey game. Sometimes you get a little too wound up, but all Craig Berube wants to do is try and get the troops going. Gonna have to wait a couple of minutes to get him going, though. 29 seconds to go in the second. The Rangers, boy, have really crunched back at the Flyers. Lead 5-3 now.
Boy, a lot of that is just knowing that you can do it, isn't it? I mean, the Rangers were down 3-1. The Flyers were starting to really carry it to them, and the Rangers just kept moving. And Patrick scored off a face-off, then Mullen, Gartner out of a net mouth scramble, and then Kissio was able to get a break.
But you know, when the Rangers started to come, it almost looked like the Flyers started to back onto their heels a little bit, including backing over the blue line. And then the Rangers just simply started break for openings. They got in behind them. That's how Mullen got his goal. Kissio just broke for the net on his. But the Flyers almost looked as if they were saying, uh-oh. They're obviously a team that has a fragile confidence, and they have been that way for some time because of their ups and downs.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a collective, oh, here they come again type of thing, isn't it?
Yep.
Horsheva trying to weave his way through the North American traffic, having recovered nicely from coming from overseas last year. Now moving in now as a shot from Leach went off the trapper of Reggett as the horn sounded to end the second period. And so shockwaves have been sent through the Spectrum by the New York Rangers, who scored 4 goals in 6 minutes and 6 seconds. Patrick, Mullen, Gartner, and Kissio. And so at the end of 2 periods, it's the Rangers 5 and the Flyers 3. They've outshot the Flyers 24-20. We pause now for a regional break. Tim Kerr made it a 2-1 game, and one that was credited to him, though put in by Brian Leach. And then Murphy made it a 3-1 lead, and then back came the Rangers. Patrick and Mullen and Gartner and Kissio. For Gartner, that's his 35th and first in his first game as a Ranger. Now the Rangers seem to be in command. Shots were 15-11. Rangers, after the two teams were even at 9 shots apiece at the end of the first period of play. So the Flyers have some adjusting to do.
Yeah.
One thing you pointed out was they were backing up, and you showed that too.
Well, there's a distinct contrast in the confidence levels of 2 hockey teams, one that's leading the division and one that's in the basement in the division, and it was really apparent once the Rangers started to mount their attack and mount their comeback. Then the Flyers' lack of confidence really started to show through. And at this stage of a hockey season, I mentioned this before, the Flyers have to be saying to themselves, boy, maybe we should be in the basement. You know, maybe we're not a good enough team to be up ahead of the pack. Even if they should be ahead of the pack, if they have that mentality of, boy, maybe we are where we belong, then you start folding up in situations like that.
Ken Reggett was splendid despite yielding the 4 goals. They were all right out in front of him. Nearly all of them were.
Right.
He came on in relief of Ron Hextall. For those of you just joining us, Ron Hextall re-injured a groin, although it was a different groin problem than he had before. So we entered the third period with the Rangers owning a 2-goal lead.
The NHL on Sports Channel is brought to you by Mercury and the full line of 1990 Mercury automobiles. See them now at your Lincoln Mercury dealer.
It passed 110 other cars to become one of Car and Driver magazine's 10 best. The distinctive Mercury Sable. The editors of Car and Driver have seen the light.
Nothing moves you like a Mercury.
See your dealer now for low financing or special savings on 1990 Mercury Sable GS.
This original painting of Larry Bird, basketball's American hero, created by Alan Hackney, and this finely detailed oil painting of Dwight Evans of the Boston Red Sox, portrayed by sports artist Armand Lamontagne, are both displayed at the New England Sports Museum. Now, both are available to you in 1,000 limited edition lithographs, signed by the artist for only $125 each. Imagine Larry Bird in your home, or Dwight Evans in your favorite room. These collector's items are individually numbered, autographed by the sports star, and will increase in value. We're so sure we'll buy back your lithograph at any time for the original price. So order now.
Credit card customers, call toll-free 1-800-841-0300 or send check or money order for $125 plus $5 shipping and handling to Sports Litho, P.O. Box 877, Department Z, Providence, Rhode Island. Order now.
Turn on Sports Channel America any night of the week for exciting sports. Nobody delivers the NHL like we do, straight through to the Stanley Cup Finals. Plus, the Los Angeles and Boston Marathons, international amateur events, and more. Turn on Sports Channel America for exciting sports.
Saturday's game against the Washington Capitals is sold out. However, tickets still remain for next Thursday's meeting with the Islanders. They may be purchased at the Spectrum and all Ticketmaster outlets, including most Showcase and West Coast video stores.
Talk about a hurting team. How about the LA Kings? Boy, oh boy, they are struggling right now. Barry Beck just retired. There's Van Beesbrook on the left. Ken Reggett on the right. But the LA Kings are a team that is going nowhere very quickly in the Smythe division. Winnipeg Jets just clinched a playoff spot last night.
Winnipeg still with a good challenge to make for second place in the division. Jets are only 6 points behind the Edmonton Oilers and only 7 out of first, so it could still be done for them.
Something. What a season they've had.
Here is a pass on from Samuelson, dealt back in by Rick Tocchet. As again, the Rangers begin this period on the power play. They have still 1:20 on the Berube Minor as Gartner staggers to Nichols, a shot that floated wide. Then along it is Patrick, locked up there with Sutter. Puck played by Gartner. To the back it comes from Horsheva across to Leach. Fires! Score!
Ken Reggett got tangled up in Mike Gartner and went to argue, and then he said, oh, what the hell, it didn't work the first time. I might as well just give it up this time. But the Rangers have taken a 6-3 lead. Terry Gregson says this is a good goal. The puck over to Brian Leach. He had all kinds of time, and you know what? Gardner got a piece of it, but he was on the outside fringe of the crease. Kenny Reggett had come out to try and cut down the angle. And Mike Gardner should get credit for this goal. His second of the night, his 36th of the year, and second in a Rangers uniform. But you can see that Gardner is perfectly legal out there. Kenny Reggett just moved out to try and take him. Ended up getting part of him, but ended up getting caught up with him, losing his balance. Mike Gartner looked like he got a piece of that one. Give the Rangers a 6-3 lead here early in the third period. We've only played 27 seconds.
Boy, how could something that was going so well for the Flyers turn so sour? Flyers fans would quickly answer, I guess that's been the story of the season. Sometimes there are problems within games, and sometimes it goes game to game, just as the positives go game to game, but there haven't been nearly as many of those. Here is Millette moving in. A pass across is controlled by Sinisalo and then lost. Murray Barron trying to work it further. Cut off by Gartner and dealt right back in. Murphy left it behind, but regathered, spun one that was chopped down by Nichols. Sinisalo across, and then it is Barron. Leach and Turcotte got the assist on Gartner's 36th, and second is a Ranger. Gartner trying for the hat trick, and that one deflected away by Lintzman. To the corner they battle. It squirts along off of Bernie Nichols, picked up by Lintzman, and Lintzman can wheel it back up for the Flyers. Has Sinisalo and Mellanby along with him. Flipped that one that was into the glove of Horsheva. Spun right back out again, and Chychrun can play with 1:20 gone here in the third period. 6-3 the score. The Rangers have the lead as this one flipped around the boards and picked up by Horsheva. Horsheva drops it along for Kelly Kissio. Kissio's pass cut off by Pelle Eklund, chopped away from him by Mullen. Mullen just shuffles it back in, and Reget watches as it pops over to Terry Karkner, the one-time Ranger. Karkner able to control across for Chychrun to carry back out. Cracks loudly off the boards. Acton there. Floated one that came across the goal mouth well wide. Brought right back up now by Mullen. And he's able to steam one to the corner, hoping for Kissio, but instead it's Karkner. Rattles one around the boards that kicked off of Tim Kerr, played by Rochefort, and guided back to Patrick. Then across to Rochefort again. He had the first goal for the Rangers in the game tonight. The Flyers got the next 3, and the Rangers have gotten the next 5. Reget just lets this one go for the icing touch-up that comes from Chychrun. 17:43 to go in the third period, and the Rangers have the lead by 3. We invite you to make plans to attend the 11th annual Dodge Flyers Cup Scholastic Championship Tournament beginning March 22nd at both the Stadium in Havertown and the Face-Off Circle in Warminster. For ticket information, call Hockey Central at 215-389-9434. 215-389-9434. Goal by Gartner was a power play goal, by the way. Gartner brings some pretty impressive power play numbers to the Rangers, too. He's had 15 as a North Star, and now 1 power play goal as a New York Ranger. Icing called if Samuelson can get there ahead of King. Tough call. And King is the one that Ray Scapanella rules got there first. Go back up now, Sinisalo. Then over to Murray Craven. Craven watched by Rochefort. Blasts one that ricocheted wide. Picked up now by Tocchet to the back. Samuelson, a shot, and that one went head high and against the boards. Behind the net, Patrick shuffleboards it off to Chris King, and King just pops one back. How can a guy whose name sounds so much like Christmas be such an ornery cuss out there as Chris King? Puck controlled now by Huffman. Dealt right back over to Leach.
Yeah, you expect it from Lindy Ruff, don't you?
Yeah. Ruff trying to get through, but it's picked off by Murray Barron. Then guided back up to Berube. Dumped right back to the corner. First one back is Leach. Shoved right out of the way, but boy, did he ever boom a man to the boards. Flyers keep the play alive and back to Barron. Barron dumps to the corner, and Leach is pursued by McGuire. McGuire's the guy he gave the good thumping to. Puck driven around the boards, and it's picked up by Janssens. Janssens connecting with Ruff, gets it back again. He's got a man flying up the wing. That's Miller, but play breaks down now as Janssens just flips one that went off a Flyer stick and into the seats. 16-17 to go in the third. Rangers remain well in front.
At Meineke, your bill won't go up just because your car does. In fact, at Meineke, we start by giving you something, a free undercar inspection. We check 20 parts or more from your exhaust system to your shocks and brakes. And if it's not broken, we don't fix it. If it is broken, we tell you exactly what the cost will be before any repairs begin. Just the way business should be done. So bring your car to Meineke. We'll give you a lift without taking you for a ride.
Well, it's been a long season for Bob Clarke and his assistant, John Paddock, who was to his right. The guy was so accustomed to winning hockey games, and it's got to be one of the most frustrating things in the world for Bob Clarke not to be able to do anything but sit and watch, because he was the quintessential leader and the quintessential competitor. And you can't compete when you're a general manager. You have to watch your players compete. Got to take some getting used to for a guy like Bobby Clarke.
Here's Acton. Big blast. Save made by Van Beesbrook, and it's controlled by Gartner and scooped right up the wing. And here comes Millette. Little tap on to Turcotte. or check that, Horshiba turned it right in on goal, and Reggett made the stop. Now Gartner behind. Couldn't work to the front. Gartner able to turn to the outside, though, away from the checking of Acton. Spun one off that misfired for Millette. Parkner in to get it. Dodged the check of Troy Millette. Parkner trying to turn with it behind. Pursued by Gartner. That one spiked right out of the air by Bernie Nichols, but then steered on for Eklund. And Eklund just turns right back and tries to get some skating room. Now has it as he moves in and deals off to Chychrun. His shot! And that one saved by Van Beesbroek, and he'll cover.
Boy, yes. Mike, that was the Rangers' turn to back in. When the Flyers came over the red line, they just sagged all the way back in. But then they tightened up. When Jeff Chychrun let the shot go, there were guys that were trying to get to the net, but the Rangers spun off and went into their man-to-man coverage. Did a pretty good job of keeping anybody from getting to the rebound. Keith Acton was perhaps the closest. But Pelle Eklund is the most dangerous Flyer when he comes down the ice at full speed. Very often defense will back in, and they sure did that time. But there's Bloomberg, number 38, holding Keith Acton out of the play. Finally, Tim Kerr got there, but it was a little late.
You noticed Acton was coming off. Linseman is on now with Sinisalo on his left. Left defense, it'll be Huffman, and on the right side, it'll be Kjell Samuelsson. Tocchet will be the right winger. Back to Samuelsson, a shot high off Van Beesbroek, knocked down and forced wide by Sinisalo. Sinisalo just drops it back off. Rick Tocchet is behind the net to get it. Tocchet trying to weave his way in front. Spins one that was off the outside of the goal after striking Van Beesbroek. Now behind the net, trying to dig it loose is Linseman. Rolls it along for Tocchet. Has Huffman moving to the slot, but didn't see him until it was too late. Meanwhile, the Rangers try to play the outside, but Sinisalo centers one. Tocchet trying to stagger free. Dumps it back to the point, and Huffman able to keep. Flips one that's tipped aside by Sinisalo. Guided around the boards by Patrick. First one there will be Tocchet. Nice move to pull away, but he went down. Turned it on to Sinisalo. To the point to Samuelsson. Shovel shot. Deflected in front, and it goes wide. There'll be a penalty coming up against the Rangers. It'll be on Rochefort for taking down Tocchet. So the Flyers, with 14:34 to go in the third, trailing by 3, will get a power play when we come back.
I'd rather switch than itch. So I switched to Tegrin.
Tegrin medicated shampoo controls all the major causes of itching and flaking. So Tegrin is more than strong enough for tough dandruff like yours.
Wouldn't you rather switch than itch?
Patrick Division rivals collide. Tough guy Rick Tocchet and the Flyers defend the honor of the Orange and Black in this battle with Scott Stevens and the Capitals. It's Washington versus Philadelphia. Live at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Sports Channel America, Saturday.
Reverse angle look at some of the Flyers' action. Boy, you know, the Rangers sag back in with 5 men back in deep once they get the lead to try and protect the lead. There's the penalty to Rochefort, dragging down Rick Tocchet in front. But their 5 men are in so deep that if the Flyers can move it back to the point man, they're wide open. They really sag and try and over-support in deep.
Here's Reggett slugging it along. Power play number 4 for the Flyers in the game. Rick Tocchet able to bring it ahead. Bounces one in deep. Van Beesbroek able to hustle it along to Leach. Cleared one that came right back into Craven. Turned to the corner, though, and it's shuffled back off by Leach. Popped loose, and Craven has to steer back to Murphy. Murphy's been the Flyer with the hot hand tonight, scoring twice. Got a pass ahead to Eklund, but they rule it was just offside. So Ray Scapanello marks it just 1 foot inside the blue line.
We'll show it to you from the blimp. Good call.
Sure was. Was onside there, but it had already gone across 2 lines.
But you know, when you have to wonder maybe if Gordy Murphy's stick was in contact with that puck. I mean, sure, when he teed it up. Here's the reverse angle look at it. Now, see, he's behind the line right there, but in his follow-through, does he actually have contact with the puck when it goes over the blue line?
A little hard to tell from that angle. You know
Tough
what we'd
call.
have to do is see it from the other side again. I guess this is the time to point out these guys make some tremendous calls, and it's only until after we see on replay that we realize that they're right so much of the time. But I still would like to hold out for some disputed goals being settled by replay in the playoffs at least. Here is Ruff, able to slug it back down. Do you like that, or do you think that's cumbersome? I realize it's an old subject, but the league seems to be getting more and more serious about it.
I'm 100% in favor of it. 100%.
It might lengthen the game a little bit, but that's a meaningful reason to lengthen it. My goodness, if you're going to make a call that's right. And some of the referees will even say this. They say, look, we want this thing to be right, and occasionally we will make mistakes out there. Puck wound around, and it came right back to Murphy. Murphy dumps it on to Kerr. Kerr looks to the front. Tocchet is there, deals it back off to Linseman. Out in front, Craven score! And the Flyers are back to within 2.
What a great play by Ken Linseman. Watch him hold and look. But the Rangers leave a huge seam right down the middle of their box, and you just can't do that. Murray Craven just made a beeline directly for John Van Beesbroek. Ken Linseman held it long enough and just put it out there. And did he put it out there perfectly? Pretty well had to figure that Murray Craven was going to go back to the other side. So Linseman, watch where he passes the puck to him. Right between his skates, dead center. That allowed Craven to pretty well go to either side. If Ken Linseman had put it too much to Murray Craven's forehand side, he wouldn't have had the option of going to John Van Beesbroek's left. But Ken Linseman fired it dead center. That gave him the option of going whatever side he wanted to.
Linseman and Kerr, the assists on Craven's 22nd. Here's Gartner trying to finesse one home, but that held off by Reggett. So the Flyers back within 2 for Craven. That's his second goal in the last 11, and maybe it'll open the floodgates for him. He's really been snake-bitten. Here is Gartner behind. Oh, he had Nichols, but Nichols checked off just enough by McGuire. Pivoting with it is Patrick. A pass in front that was nearly deflected home by Sutter. There'll be a penalty coming up. And Berube bumped off by Patrick. Penalty call is going to be against, I believe, Mike Gartner. Is he the one headed to the box? Or will it be on a Flyer? We'll get that in a moment. We pause now for a regional break. You're watching the NHL on Sports Channel.
Ever feel like you're drowning in bills? Let Metropolitan Mortgage be your lifesaver. Why not pay everybody off, cut your payments down to something you can afford, and have cash left over? If you have sufficient equity in your home, you can get a bill consolidation loan and breathe easy again. Even if a bank has turned you down, confidential help is just a phone call away at the Metropolitan Mortgage Company.
Metropolitan Mortgage is standing by right now for your call. From anywhere in Florida, dial 1-800-EASY-YES.
Well, the mystery man turned out to be Ken Reggett. He got a 2-minute penalty for roughing. Couldn't have been in that sequence, but in that pileup, perhaps, when Gartner was getting back up. People here don't like it.
Here is Ogrodnik on the power play for the Rangers. This is their 6-man advantage of the night. Pass in front, tipped wide by Kissio. Rangers are connected on one of the prior 5. Ogrodnik pestered by Eklund. Puck pops up on the rail and then drops down. Horsheva trying to keep it along. Kissio wedged off well by Samuelson. And it's dropped behind by Acton over to Karkner, and Karkner will make the Rangers chase. 11 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the third. The game really in a point of flux for the Flyers if they can get the next one. The next goal is very big. If the Rangers get it, they've got a 3-goal lead and would have the Flyers reeling again. It is Karkner down to touch this one, and the Rangers are guilty of icing while on the power play. Now Kissio and Samuelson having some words. I always had a rule when I was growing up in Indiana. Anybody I had to look 45 degrees up at, I would never argue with.
And you always carried a protractor.
Yeah.
just in case, and a transit on your back. Let me line this up. You have your 47 degrees, pal. You're too big for me. Well, Kissio and Samuelson have been going at it for this whole shift. Along the boards when they were scrapping for it, Big Sammy had the elbow into Kissio's jaw. He didn't like it very much. I guess that makes him a normal human. You know, the strides the Rangers have made in the last little while, a lot of the strides have been in the division. There's the big guy. Oh, he gets a lot of ice time. Makes the most of it, too. But, you know, the Rangers on the 13th of February, and that's not that long ago, folks, had the worst divisional record in the Patrick Division. 7 wins, 11 losses, and 4 ties. They've won 6 of their last 7 divisional games and are now 13-12-4. Second best divisional record all of a sudden, second only to Pittsburgh.
Samuelson slugs one that is slowed and brought back up now by Gartner. Mike Gartner, a +3 in the game tonight. It's a great way to start in his first game as a Ranger. Puck wedged back out by Tocchet, ricocheted off Horsheva, and is played back across to him by Turcotte. So the Horshaven peel off, and he drops it on back now for the slug around by Patrick.
I think I had that under a slice of veal.
That's right.
Recently.
Okay.
Horshaven peel off. It's a wonderful. It's a rice dish, isn't it?
Turcotte in front, and it's tipped wide by Nichols. Now Bernie Nichols looks at the front. He had Gartner there, but he was well watched, and that's why the play didn't develop. Tocchet trying to get by, and it's dumped off by Patrick again. Moving ahead is Mike Gartner. Hooked down by Kartner, and this one Terry Gregson will let go. Kartner with a pass on to Murray Craven. Steps ahead along with Tocchet. Poke checked away. Guided on by Gartner, and rushing ahead with this is Turcotte. Has Nichols with a gun loaded, but waits too long and nearly collides with Nichols. It is Sinisalo. Penalty time down to just 10 seconds. And Craven rushes ahead with Sinisalo. They cross, and Craven able to get through. Sinisalo tries to shovel one. Poked loose and held by Van Beesbrook, and there'll be a penalty coming up against the Rangers. So the Flyers kill one off, and now they'll go on the power play. We pause for a regional break. You're watching the National Hockey League on Sports Channel.
Gulfstream commemorates its most historic event, the Breeders' Cup, with a free super gift this Saturday. A large color poster of Florida's Super Track on Breeders' Cup Day. This once-in-a-lifetime collector's item features the 7 winning thoroughbreds, including Sunday Silence, 1989 Horse of the Year, and the racing silks of every stable entered. Saturday, the $175,000 Gulfstream Budweiser Breeders' Cup. Sunday, the $200,000 Bonnie Miss Stakes. Catch a super smile at Gulfstream, Florida's Super Track.
Murray Craven sure has looked strong in this game tonight. That is something that he's had a hard time finding in the last little while, is that strength, that extra burst, and he had it right there, went all the way through, and there was a hold on the play. There's Horshaven sitting for a couple of minutes. It's a long season, you know, and you can say what you want about little guys and big guys, but Murray Craven's about 6'2½". He only weighs about $175, $170. That's he's not a big guy. You take a look at him, and he doesn't have a big frame. A lot of hockey for a guy his size.
I was just checking. We have Brett Hull with his 65th tonight. And Steve Yzerman has come up with his 55th tonight. In Detroit, the Red Wings are leading St. Louis 3-1 in the third. Toronto 5-4 at Hartford in the third. Buffalo 9-2 over Boston in the third. And the Devils blanking the Islanders 4-0 in the third period.
Remember, folks, drinking responsibly makes good sense. Please know when to say when. This is a reminder from Budweiser.
Tim Kerr and Tocchet will be the wingers. Craven will be the center, and there's some concern over at the penalty box area.
Big John will take care of it.
Yeah, John Schwerig, he has been involved here since the very beginning, and it's funny, this has been a team that has been almost exclusively together since the first year of the Flyers. And they have come together for every game, and the clock ran off 16 seconds, Jamie McVicker has advised, and that's the reason that those seconds may be very valuable near the latter stages of the game. So that's the reason that they want to get those seconds replaced. It's being explained now to both Tim Kerr and Kelly Kissio. But the off-ice officials are a concerned group now because one of their number, Jigs Torchiana, has had to go into the hospital, and we understand that surgery is scheduled him for tomorrow. So our prayers and best wishes go to the Torchiana family.
Big John Schwerig that works the penalty box turned me on to a good guy. His kid, his son Tom, is building my deck as I speak. Well, he's probably knocked off work right now. What time is it? A little too late.
And a little too cold.
Yeah, we should see him. He's a big guy. He's as big as John, but he works even in like 32 to 36 degree weather in short sleeves with a cut-off sweatshirt and a short T-shirt underneath. Tom and his partner Rob are hard at it. Like I'm going to lie out in the sun in 4 days, right, when the deck's finished?
Craven says, I want it dropped right here, right now. He and Kissio will go after it. Puck comes back to Eklund, over to Murphy, and a shot went wide. Rebound, tapped aside. This is a critical point in the game for the Flyers. They have the power play. They have 10 minutes of time with which to work. They're trailing in the game by 2. Puck shoveled back across. Nice poke check away from Patrick by Murray Craven, who can control it back out. He's got Tocchet on his right, same with Eklund. The drop-off is to Kerr. Spun one too hard for Tocchet, and it goes to the corner where Craven goes to play. Craven along now for Tocchet. Forced loose by the Rangers, and they're able to bat it back ahead. This might be a 2-on-1. It is. Kissio moving in with Mullen. Gives to him. Score! A shorthanded goal by Brian Mullen, and it is 7-4.
What a play by Kissio, though, Mike. He made this baby happen. The Rangers got it out of their zone. Now watch Kissio so that he won't put Mullen offside. Watch him right there. See how he extended the puck out in front of him. He made a quick stick handle move to get the puck across the blue line and then pulled it back to pass it over to Mullen. Real pretty. Here it is there. See how he got the puck way out in front of him? Then he threaded the needle perfectly. Brian Mullen just binged her home.
Well, for Mullen, that's his first of the night, and Mullen has come through with goal 21 of the year. Check that, second of the night. 22nd of the year. Kissio getting the assist. And it has become a 7-4 game in favor of the Rangers. And they're flexing that offensive muscle, which has become even more impressive with Mike Gartner's 2 goals tonight. He looks, that trade looks excellent, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You talk about immediate dividends, but that's what the Rangers have been missing is their offense. Should they get their offense going, and it sure has gone here tonight, 7 goals. They're going to be a real formidable opponent for not only anybody in this division, but if they end up getting out of the division, they'll take anybody on in a tussle. It's the only ingredient they haven't had is offense. Well, Mullen's contributed, sure. He's got his share of goals, and Mike Gartner now is going to help, and Bernie Nichols has his, but the top guys have scored for them. It's the bottom half of their order, and that's really what separates a lot of teams in the offensive standings. It's the bottom half of the order where you got to have the 14, 16, 17 goal guys. The Rangers just don't have that. They got 5 guys that score, and everybody else just drops right off.
Puck flipped across to Sinisalo. Sinisalo pivoting and is wedged up along the boards by Leach, but it's Lynchman. Back to Sinisalo in front. Got a weak shot away that was partly tipped off his stick, and Van Beesbrook able to gather. Yeah, when you go into the playoffs and you really only have to deal with one line, that's all you have to check. When you're at home, that's a real advantage, but when you have to deal with 2, when you have Nichols on one along with Gartner, and you've got Ogrodnik, and Mullen and Kissio on the other one, and you've got real trouble.
And you still got Kerry Wilson coming back into the team too in a little while. So the Rangers, far more better balanced team. Here's the last Flyers scoring chance. Remember early in the season, I was asked by a lot of people, are the Rangers for real? You know, they were out in first place. I said, yeah, they got good defense, they got good goaltending, they're for real. Then in December, they fell apart when all of their defensemen got hurt. But now that their defensemen are reasonably healthy, they're back playing a good brand of hockey. When you can keep the puck out of your net, you never go really far south. You go to Virginia, but you never go south like to Florida. So you're always in there.
Oh, Kerr tried to muscle one home. He goes to the corner with Paul Broughton. Broughton along the boards, badgered there by Lintzman and by Kerr. And Kerr tried to walk away again. Lintzman helped him do it by getting body position on Broughton and then nudges back to Murphy. A shot and a stick save made by Van Beesbrook as Murphy was gunning for the hat trick. And it's flipped back down by Janssens. Going back to get this is Murphy. Guides it off the wall now to Craven. Then back to Murphy again with 8 minutes and 12 seconds to go. And the Spectrum very quiet right now. This will be an all-time record should the Flyers lose it for home losses in a year. This will be their 17th loss at home, and they've never had that happen before. Icing called, 7:59 left in the third. With the score, the Rangers 7 and the Flyers 4. We take leave of you for 30 seconds.
Well, the car goes.
At Meineke, we can't always tell what's wrong with a car by the sound of the customer, but we can tell a lot from our free undercar inspection. We check your exhaust system, shocks, brakes, and more at no charge. We'll show you what's wrong and what's right. Then you'll know the price before any work begins. So bring your car to Meineke. We'll give you a lift without taking you for a ride.
Paul Holmgren and his guys looking at an uphill climb. Not a climb that has been unfamiliar to them, but it has been a climb that they haven't been able to actually conquer often enough this season to give them a good hockey season. 7:57 to go on this one. 7-4 Rangers lead.
Kartner going back for this. Ken Reggett comes out to slug it along. For those of you just joining us, Ron Hextall went out with a groin injury in the first period. And we don't know how serious the injury is, how long that he'll be lost to the Flyers. It is a different groin injury than he had earlier in the season, which forced him out for 2 segments of 4 and 26. Gee, what a move there by Miller. And Kevin Miller's pass is flagged down by Craven. Started ahead to Sutter. Sutter moving in. Poke checked away from him by Horschiva. Going to get it as Craven. Bangs it right back off for Tocchet. Tocchet centers, and Craven wiped out by Horschiva. And Horschiva, that rugged goon from Europe, is going to head to the penalty box again. On a delayed call, it is Pelle Eklund to control, unless the Flyers are able to score. Horschiva, this will be the 3rd time. Pivoting with this now is Samuelsson, and Samuelsson with a pass over to Huffman. Boy, the Flyers are in the midst of changing. They got all kinds of guys out there, and the Rangers are protesting that they had 7 men out, and they might have legit on that, but we'll get the penalty call. It'll be a trip to Horschiva and a power play Flyers when we come back.
He's unstoppable.
If I get the ball, you're at mercy of whatever I want to do.
Come Fly With Me, the ultimate video on the most exciting athlete in the world today. Every sports fan will want to own the hottest of sports videos, Michael Jordan Come Fly With Me. Witness his aerial onslaught as he takes on the rest of the NBA. To get your copy of Come Fly With Me, call 1-800-238-3100 today.
See if we can pick this up. Horschiva was in deep. Boy, Murray Craven went down. I guess that was Turcotte that took him down. Number 8 for the Rangers. So Turcotte is off for tripping.
And apologies will be issued in triplicate to Horschiva. Puck comes across now to Murphy. Flipped right back by Van Beesbrook around the boards, hustling to get out of the way. The referee, Terry Gregson. Puck played now by Eklund. Eklund looks to the back to Kartner. Gives it back to him. Shoots one that goes wide. Tap to the side of the net by Van Beesbrook. Out in front. Eklund scores!
There was just too much orange and white in front of John Van Beesbrook. Pelle Eklund made a super play. Passed it back to the guy you're looking at, Ilkka Sinisalo, and he jammed it home. One of the Flyers' power play has really had so many good chances. Tim Kerr was fighting for that one. He was able to outmuscle Rochefort for the puck, get it out in front to Pelle Eklund, who slipped it back to Ilkka Sinisalo. But no, that's a great play by Terry Kartner. He fired that baby intentionally wide by a good 10 feet, and then it was a strength against strength. Both Rangers defensemen were in behind, both James Patrick and Rochefort, and Tim Kerr really was the big reason that the Flyers scored that one.
Huffman to Samuelsson, and Samuelsson pops one back in that comes near Moeller. Ron Sutter dumped it behind. Turned back along the boards by Leach. First one to it is Tocchet. Flyers showing some hustle there. Craven centers one, and it was just away from Tocchet and back down. Under 6 minutes to play. The Flyers have to get 2 to force overtime. Huffman with a pass turned on to Craven. Guides it ahead to Rick Tocchet. Bounces one off the boards that is cut off by Van Beesbrook. Rolls it around the rail, and Mullen chopped it, but right back to Huffman. Huffman rushed by Kissio. Puck back on to Sutter. Able to get it along to Craven, and then was hit hard by Moeller. Behind the net, it's Tocchet out in front. Tried to stuff one over, but it went off his stick on the lean of Mullen. And so the Flyers must play a neutral ice, and the Rangers are dropping back. It is Nichols coming over the boards on a shift change for the Rangers. Watching now as Pelle Eklund plays. Gartner swooping right near him. Then it's over to Huffman once more. Huffman trying to pull it aside. Able to turn it back out, but it's Millette there. Dubbed one that's cut off by Eklund. 5:10 to go. Pass was ahead for Acton, but by him. And around the boards, Van Beesbrook had to cut off the icing potential by turning it loose, and Eklund has it. Out in front, Kerr trying to muscle it loose, and it's yanked free by Millette. Millette ridden to the boards by Keith Acton. Kerr comes by 2. Flyers showing a lot of spirit here in the latter stages of this one. They trail by 2 with 4:53 left in the third.
Boy, a big part of that fight belongs to Keith Acton. While we were away for one of our commercials, we were looking at a shot of the Flyers bench, and he was looking up and down the bench, basically asking for some support. Come on, guys, let's go. And he looked down the bench looking for somebody to pick up the chant. You always know what you're going to get from Keith Acton, and that's about 105, 110 on a good night. Hates to lose, loves to win, and there's a big difference between guys that just love to win and guys that hate to lose. everybody loves to win. Not everybody hates to lose. And you can't win hockey games regularly unless you got a team of guys that hate to lose.
Off this rugby scrum from the faceoff, Tocchet is trying to dig it loose and does. To Murphy, shoots. Blocked off by the waffle board of Van Beesbrook. Kartner steers it around. It's Sinisalo centering. Loose puck in the crease. A scramble for it there. Does Rochefort have it or not? If he does, it might have been a penalty shot, but it comes up in the glove of John Van Beesbrook.
You know, the Rangers are sagging back in so deep, Mike. All the Flyers have to do is get anything on net and then charge for the net. Then it's just going to be a battle. That one came out and rolled right up Rochefort's stick and then right down between his legs. But he got his foot out there. Kenny Linseman had a whack at it, but it had to hit Rochefort's skate.
Looks like the Rangers are calling a timeout. They are over at their bench first. Yeah, that's the case, and it's not a bad move considering the way that the Rangers have been playing the last couple of minutes.
Combine that with the way the Flyers have been playing. They've been on the charge. Take 30 seconds, try and diffuse a little bit. Boy, the Rangers still play such a conservative style, especially on the road. They've only sent one man into forecheck tonight. I mean, not many of their goals have come on turnovers. They've waited to get their chances in their breaks. They've been patient. That last one, but the Mullen goal was a good example. It was a 2-on-1, and they just waited to get a break. Mullen scored in that breakaway in the second period and just patient, waited for a break. What the Rangers do is send one man in maximum. If he makes contact and has good pressure, then they'll send help. But if he doesn't have the guy, you see them in the neutral zone. I wish we could just take a picture of the neutral zone constantly and show you what they do in the neutral zone. They cut it in half. They've always got 4 guys back, sometimes 5 guys back.
Sinisalo is the guy who got the Flyers back to within 2. 7-5, the Rangers lead with 4:37 to go in the third period of play. Sinisalo and Tocchet will be the wingers for Linseman. It'll be Kartner in back along with Gord Murphy. Janssens will be in on the draw with Linseman. Flyers have to get 2. They've had 33 shots. The Rangers have had 28 on 2 different Flyer goalies tonight. Puck jammed along the boards, and it went off of, that time it went off of Mullen and then came back out now for a shot by Murphy that floated wide. Turned along the boards by Tocchet. Shovels one that's speared in front and brought right back for a little tap by Patrick. Cut off by Kartner. Tried to work it further, and Ruff sent it away. Now Murphy through the legs of Linseman across to Kartner. Wanted to get Linseman, but instead it went off Kevin Miller.
There's cutting that ice in half. Miller was positioned just to try and cut off that long cross-ice pass, and bingo, he did cut it.
Boy, you can see it develop, can't you? On now comes Tocchet, then Sinisalo, and across now to Murphy. And again, the middle of the ice is blocked up. Kartner turns it along, and Linseman yanks it behind. Sinisalo to play it. Behind the net to Tocchet. Forced off by Leach is checking. Then to the boards it goes, and Ruff just wants to clear it. Can't get it by Kartner with a good keep. All the way from the left point position he came across. Rolled along and back to play Sinisalo. Acton just missing it as back down it goes, and another icing call coming up as the clock ticks down now to 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third. And the Rangers with the lead at 7-5.
Well, the Flyers coaching staff sure gave a great first report card to Craig Fisher, the youngster out of University of Miami, Ohio, that they signed as a future Flyer. Signed him a few weeks ago. He is here with the team now since his season is over. His college season is over, and Paul Holmgren told me before the game that he's really impressed with him. He's wiry, he's tall, he's lanky, he's got great hands and seems to have great anticipation, good spirit. Flyers could use some of that. We may see Craig Fisher before this season is over.
Spectrum birds are at it again. Not the boo birds or anything. We have some birds that have decided to live here. And every once in a while they go screeching past our loft here, headed down toward popcorn or something that they spot.
When you hear me pump, you'll know why.
It is Kerr controlling now with 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the third period. Kerry Huffman able to drill one ahead. Came for Keith Acton. Acton trying to pick his way through. Wanted to center but couldn't. Acton once more dumped one along. This is Turcotte firing one around the boards and all the way back down. There'll be no icing on this though. And with 2 minutes and 55 seconds, the puck is turned over to Huffman. Guides back out now to Eklund. Teams are at even strength. Eklund trying to worm his way through. Horsheva watching him. Centering pass! and that one directed wide, and then Acton winds up on top of the goaltender in the net. Acton was the one who got the good shot away, but it was just off the mark. And we'll see how John Van Beesbroek is. The word has not gone out to the trainer yet. He seems to be all right.
Pelle Eklund has really lugged the puck so well into the zone. Wow. Talk about taking your guy out. Bloomberg sure did that as Keith Acton was breaking in.
One of the outgoing guys on the Flyers squad.
Yeah, I called him quiet a few games ago, but there's a little kid lurking inside Keith Acton that jumps out quite often. He's a great prankster and a great competitor. Every team needs Keith Actons. They really do. And you talk about chemistry very often, and it's a word that's hard to put a definition to when you're talking about sports teams. But you need all different types, especially if you have a team that has a lot of quiet guys on it. You need guys that break the tension, that loosen people up, that are always entertaining, that are creating that diversion in tough times. And Acton's one of those guys.
The Rangers apparently have several because they've been without Chris Nyland for a long time, and he's been one of the preeminent ones in the league in that department. But here the Flyers are left with 2 minutes and 30 seconds in which to get a pair. Let's see if they can do it. Karkner rattles one along the boards, but it's cut off quickly by Moeller. Has a duel with Karkner, and it is controlled by Leach. Off of Kissio, picked up by Karkner again. Pestered from behind, and here comes Mullen on a breakaway. Look, shoot, save made by Reggett. And the Flyers have to hustle back up. Tocchet with a pass to Murphy. Returns on to Tocchet. Couldn't get it to Craven. Tocchet again! And Craven taken out in front of the goal. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Rangers with 2 minutes left in the third. It comes from being around Hextall these last couple of years, but I wonder if John Van Beesbroek has ever wanted to score a goal.
Yeah, I wonder. You got to know that Ken Reggett's going to get yanked. Possibly within the next minute or so. 2 minutes to go, and anybody can ice the puck for the Rangers now, and even if they miss the net, it won't come back if it's an icing. There won't be an icing. Here's Moeller dragging down Murray Craven. Funny selection here by Brian Mullen on a breakaway. Slap shot from just about the top of the circle that Ken Reggett just ate up. That was a hat-trick breakaway, too, for Brian Mullen, and then the Flyers race down to the other end. You know, you got to wonder to a degree, though, Mike. I know the Rangers probably thought they had enough goals, but they've really gone into a prevent defense of the first order. And I honestly don't think that you can do that consistently and win hockey games. For one thing, you end up getting a negative attitude about your ability to hold the lead because you end up just clinging to the lead. You know, there's no question that the Rangers are playing a prevent defense, and taking a lot of penalties because of it. They allow the Flyers to get position on them when they do that.
Murphy with a shot off the back of the goal. Pivoting with it is Sinisalo. Up with it now is Patrick, and we get a stoppage of play. And the net dislodged behind Van Beesbroek, and so another halt to action and the face-off to come near him. Now it's a big if, but had that been ruled a Rangers' fault, with less than 2 minutes to go, there'd have been a penalty shot. I noticed Kerr and Van Beesbroek together, so that must have been where the thing got knocked off just now. John Van Beesbroek, Mike Richter, Bob Froese, the three goalies the Rangers have and the ones that they'll keep for the playoffs. Kerr and Van Beesbroek were together dislodging the net, you saw. Sinisalo tips one along now for Eklund. Hit by Bernie Nichols. Around behind, the puck came out to Kerr. Kerr spins the net with 1:37 to go. Has to peel off to the corner and hands to Eklund. Then back to Craven, to Eklund once more. Then off it comes to Sinisalo. Eklund in front for Kerr. They poke at it and it went wide. Wheeled off the boards and back down by Rochefort. Ken Reggett out of his goal to get it. Down to the last minute 20. Reggett stick handles and plays it back over for Craven. Then up to Murphy, and here comes Reggett to the bench. On now to Pelle Eklund. Drops it back to Craven. Right in the slot. Save, rebound. Sent wide by Tocchet. Centering pass off Van Beesbroek. He's pushed back over the line. Does it count? No. The Flyers will argue it, but Van Beesbroek had been shoved back over the line after the whistle had blown. And Terry Gregson was signaling that all the way along.
You know what's kind of funny here, though, Mike? Van Beesbroek's momentum appeared to have him moving back into the net on the original save. Now what happens if Murray Craven doesn't push him back? See how he's moving back? Where's the puck right now? Or when Ron Sutter, not Craven, when Sutter went in and pushed him back after the whistle, you never know. If Gregson blows the whistle and then comes over to take a look at it and it's behind the line, he might allow that. But in a sense, this may have worked against the Flyers. Ron Sutter pushing it back in. Now it's back in for sure, but it's back in because a Flyer pushed it back in there. Just another break that didn't go the Flyers' way at all. What a save he made there on Rick Tocchet. Van Beesbroek's first one was pretty good, but it was right at him. But then when Rick Tocchet got the rebound, boy, oh boy, did Van Beesbroek ever make a good pad save.
65 seconds to go. Flyers stymied on that attempt to score. Will recoil and try again, but they need to strike twice.
Andy Murray is the man in the middle, Paul Holmgren's assistant. Relies heavily on both Andy Murray's opinion and that of Mike Eaves, his other assistant. And there's no question about it, Paul Holmgren makes the final decision. He is his own man, and he calls his own shots.
Van Beesbroek glides back into the goal. Unbeaten in his last 6, trying to extend that to 7. The net at the Flyers' end is empty. Yawning open 4 by 6. Murphy, Craven, Sutter, Kerr, Sinisalo, and Tocchet will be the 6 Flyers out. Kelly Kissio to take the draw. So it'll be Kissio and Sutter to scrap for the puck. Brian Murphy, the tall linesman, ready to drop it in between them. 36 Flyer shots, 29 for the Rangers. 1 false start. Some encroachment on the face-off too, and Terry Gregson warning Sinisalo. Now they're ready again. Second time. Kissio and Sutter both leave, so Craven will be in to take it.
Was going to be Craven. Now Tim Kerr's coming in. The Flyers got a lot of guys to choose from out there.
Kerr and Nichols. Puck comes to Craven. To Murphy. Shovel shot! And that one snared by Van Beesbroek, who could see that one all the way.
But talk about some good concentration. He had a couple of guys that were in the bunt position in front of him. One was Tim Kerr and one was Ilkka Sinisalo. Kind of surprised they both missed it. They were both going for a deflection on the shot from Gord Murphy. Bernie Nichols ended up taking the draw for the Rangers. Tim Kerr for the Flyers. Went all the way back. There's the shot. Just looked like Tim Kerr got a piece of that.
Off the tie-up again. Punched by Sutter. Kept by Murphy. Back to Craven. To Murphy again. Shoots one, and that went wide. 50 seconds to go. Flyers have to get 2. Craven back to Sutter. Big drive, and that to the glass. A glove is lost, and it belongs to Patrick. He's able to regather it as you watch this action at the boards. Around it goes toward Patrick, but picked up now by Tocchet. Tocchet over for Sutter. Feeds one in front. Kerr couldn't get a shot away as it was canceled out by Rochefort. Back it comes to Sutter. To the point to Murphy. Shoots again, and a save made by Van Beesbroek. Another one by Tocchet, and Van Beesbroek got that one too. 23 seconds to go, and Van Beesbroek comes up tall again.
Boy, did he ever. You know, I'm kind of interesting that Roger Nielsen in this situation has Bernie Nichols out there. I mean, he's got penalty killers that are far more defensive-minded. Great pressure by the Flyers. Bernie Nichols is kind of cruising around there. Even ran into Kelly Kissio. That's one of the reasons the Flyers are getting a lot of their chances. I mean, Bernie Nichols doesn't have a great amount of defensive instinct at all. Great offensive player. But the Flyers are just eating the Rangers' penalty killers alive right now. Had so many good... So the last half of this game has simply been all Flyers. With any kind of bounce or any kind of luck, they'd be right there.
Well, Murphy seems to be regaining all that offensive confidence again, too, doesn't he? Here's Janssens in for the faceoff, and he'll be taking it opposite Sutter. 23 seconds to go. Karkner, Kerr, Tocchet, Craven, Sinisalo, the 6 Flyers. Off the tie-up from Janssens, it's nudged back to Craven. Shovel shot, blocked high and then gloved away by Rochefort. Picked up, though, by Kartner. Feeds to Tocchet, and he sent the shot wide. 12 seconds to go. Craven turning it on to Kartner again. Deals it off for Sinisalo. Behind, it's out in front. They poke away at it. 4 seconds, 3, and a shot into a pile. And with that, the horn will sound, and the Rangers will win. They have lost only one of their last 11 games. 75 points on the season. 6 above 500. And the Flyers go to 8 below 500. And for the first time in history have lost 17 at home in one season.
What an interesting hockey game. We saw good and bad on both sides. We saw the Flyers open up a lead. They looked strong, and then their confidence, their lack of confidence showed. The Rangers scored when they had to and then went into a shell and showed that they can allow teams to come back.
Murphy with a couple of goals tonight. Gartner with a pair, and the same true for Mullen. With the final score 7-5 Rangers, we pause for a regional break.
For high-speed excitement, auto racing is coming this summer to the Sports Channel America Network.
Dear Mom, thanks for helping Janet and me with the new baby the past 2 weeks. You were there as always. But there was a time when I wasn't sure I wanted your help. Remember when we walked all the way to town and back? Then you discovered the new toy I had.
Where'd you get that? From the store. I didn't know you had any money.
I didn't have any money. Taking that toy back was one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
I took this, and I'm sorry.
It takes a big man to face up to a mistake, son. But bringing it back was the right thing to do.
Thanks, Mom, for teaching me the hard lessons.
Family values. Pass them on. Your children need them now more than ever. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Tune on any night of the week for exciting sports.
On comes Fuller on a breakaway. Let's shoot, score! Moving into the circle, Simon Graham for Thomas. He scores!
Nobody delivers the NHL like we do, with more than 100 hard-hitting contests straight through to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Pettis gonna have to hurry.
Keep pace with the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame as they challenge top college teams across the nation. Climb into the ring every week with the Sports Channel Pro Boxing Tour. It's a knockout. Feel the fever of high school sports with the National Federation Game of the Week. Sports Nightly keeps you up to date with the latest scores, highlights, and news before and after every event. Plus, men's and women's college basketball, the Los Angeles and Boston Marathon, pro tennis, English League soccer, international amateur events, and more. Turn on Sports Channel America for exciting sports.
Rangers won this one 7-5 here at the Spectrum tonight. Didn't take Mike Gartner very long to pay dividends for the New York Rangers. He scored one in the second period. That was his first in a Rangers uniform. Then he got one in the third period. Back to Brian Leetch. Brian Leetch let a nice deflectable shot go, and that's exactly what Mike Gartner did. He deflected it by Ken Reggett. That turned out to be the winning goal for the Rangers.
Well, in that third period, Mike Gartner had what turned out to be the winning goal. Murray Craven answered with one. Then it was Brian Mullen, and the scoring just completely wound right out into the evening with the Rangers winding up with a 7-5 victory. You mentioned that they went into a shell, Bill, in the third. They sure did. They only had 5 shots on goal, and 2 of those went in. And the Flyers had 17, the shots in the game 37-29. But with the Devils defeating tonight the New York Islanders, we have a final on that. It was 4-2. Now things start to stack up tightly around the second and third place position in the Patrick Division 2.
Well, the Flyers still have their destiny in their own hands. At this stage, I wonder if they want that to be the case. The New York Islanders look as if they're falling off the face of the earth. They're having so much trouble winning hockey games. The New Jersey Devils are starting to come around. Remember that stretch that they went through when they were so poor? It's going to be a dogfight. Still might go down to the last weekend.
Yeah. Final score in this one again, the New York Rangers defeating the Philadelphia Flyers tonight by a 7-5 score. Our coverage will continue in just a moment.